Hello everyone, this is Top Romance Stories. Before watching the video, please take 3 seconds to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This will give me more motivation to create more high-quality videos. Thank you all very much. I wish you a happy new day. On a rainy day in March, atop the verdant white mist mountain, lush with the colors of various wild plants, the gentle and fragile figure of a young woman could be seen from afar. Her proud beauty captivated countless gazes, making it impossible to look away. Suddenly, a strange electronic panel appeared in midair, displaying a clear line of text. Scum abusing system. Main mission has begun. Please complete the novice mission. Return to the Bai family under the identity of an adopted daughter. The young woman then broke into an amused smile. A mischievous glint flashed in her eyes as she thought to herself, "It seems the Bai family has no intention of picking me up. Could it be that the plot has already started this quickly?" At this moment, a few cold words of self-introduction echoed in her head. I, Bai Wei, for some unknown reason, transmigrated into the cannon fodder female character in a heart-wrenching urban novel. Like many other cannon fodder characters, I was bound to a scum-abusing system with a bizarre mission. Congratulations on being selected by the scum-abusing system. Please become the weak female supporting character, Bai Wei, and let all the other characters oppress and bully you. After completing the mission, you will be granted one wish. Special note: once the system is bound, it cannot be removed. Host, please cherish your life and accept this cruel reality. Commencing transport. Hearing those mechanical words, Bai Wei's heart sank a little. It's these boring tasks again. They say I can change my destiny, defy fate, and become the winner in life. But even so, she still held onto a faint hope that she could turn her fate around, go against the current, and climb to the pinnacle of life. In a flash, she was swept into a strange world. But it wasn't the modern setting she had imagined. On the contrary, she fell into a primitive, ancient era where people still lived by hunting and gathering in the wild. Her eyes widened in disbelief at what she was seeing. Before she could adapt to this primitive environment, harsh reality dealt a heavy blow before she could even resist. Furious, she roared, "Get the hell out here for me. Is this the novel you were talking about? Did you eat the 2 words modern era?" At this, the system immediately responded. "Oh, my sincerest apologies. The system has encountered a serious bug. It has sent you back 5,000 years before the storyline." Bai Wei froze. Her face turned pale as she asked, So what do we do now?" The reply was a cold, mechanical voice. "Ding. The system is initiating self-repair function. Please wait." She sighed in exasperation, hugging her pitiful self. "Forget it. I'll just have to wait." And so, the journey of waiting for the system to fix its error began. At that time, I never expected that this shoddy system would repair itself to the point of being completely broken. I waited for a full 5,000 years. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. 5,000 years, you know? I constantly changed identities, from a common girl chosen by the emperor to be a concubine, to an elegant and poetic young lady of a prestigious family, to the Republican era, where I was a young woman admired by thousands. After I had turned myself into the ancestor of all of Huaxia, that mechanical sound once again echoed. "Ding, host, I'm back." Hearing that familiar voice, she spat out all the tea in her mouth. Her face pale, she coughed incessantly while looking at the system panel, thinking wearily. It's finally back. The storyline begins, returning to the present. Bai Wei held her umbrella and walked, sighing to herself. "It's too tiring to walk from there. Can't I just fly to the Bai residence?" But her reason immediately stopped her. No, it would be troublesome if I ran into someone. Just then, the sound of an engine was heard. A car was approaching from a distance. Her face lit up. It seems my efforts weren't in vain. She hurriedly waved her hand to stop the car. The driver rolled down the window and looked out, asking kindly, "Little girl, what's the matter?" Bai Wei then spoke up to ask for a favor. "If you're heading down a mountain, could you give me a ride?" The driver hesitated. Before the man could finish, a cold voice came from the back seat. "No, let's go." Hearing this, her face darkened. She glared at the other party, thinking to herself, so petty. However, she didn't give up. She immediately used her knowledge of metaphysics to assess the situation by performing a finger calculation. After finding a reason, she felt she still had a chance to persuade them. With a bright smile, she asked gently, "You're not lost, are you? I know the way down the mountain." Hearing this, a young man poked his head out. "That's great. We finally don't have to wander around this mountain anymore." Getting quickly, this was the moment she had been waiting for. The rear car door opened. She quickly folded her umbrella and got in. The moment she glanced inside, a stunningly handsome face appeared. A CEO with an aura as icy as thousand-year-old snow. The first glance made her heart flutter slightly. He's quite good-looking, just looked a bit familiar. Throughout the journey, only her voice echoed, giving directions. "Go straight. You can turn now. Turn left." The person behind her praised. "Amazing. Is this little girl's mouth blessed or something? We really got out." Those words made the person behind her reply smugly, "Humph, humph." Of course. At the same time, the young man in the front looked at the cold man in the back seat, saying sheepishly, "Fourth uncle, I'm so sorry. It's all because my grandpa is sick that I hastily dragged you here. In the end, we didn't find a miracle doctor and even made you miss your meeting. Thinking about it now, that miracle doctor is too mysterious. I'm afraid someone just made it up." The more he spoke, the more pensive the boy became, until he heard her let out a soft chuckle. He looked curiously at the hitchhiker and asked, "What are you laughing at?" She replied calmly, "Take me to Haicheng, how about it?" Those words made the entire car fall silent. Everyone turned to look at her. Seeing this, Bai Chuwei calmly raised the bag of vegetables. "If you take me there, I'll give you these vegetables. They might be helpful for your grandpa's stomach cancer." Hearing these words, the young man was astonished. The driver next to him was just as bewildered, thinking to himself, "Is she serious?" The man beside her pondered for a moment, then spoke. "All right, we'll take you back." Hearing this, Bai Chuwei gently moved closer. "Then thank you, sir." Seeing the scene made the young man want to scream internally. How embarrassing. Oh my God, fourth uncle clearly didn't agree to let her in the car just now, but now he's changed his mind? What is happening? Suddenly, a stream of spiritual energy as clear as morning dew unexpectedly filled the nostrils of the person next to her. The unique scent from a man made her marvel inwardly. Such pure spiritual energy. So pure it makes one want to take a deeper breath. Her cheeks then turned slightly red, as if dyed by the evening sun. She looked up and asked gently, "Sir, has anyone ever told you that you're like a walking piece of meat?" Hearing these words, his eyes widened in astonishment. He quickly regained his usual cold demeanor. He thought to himself, a walking piece of meat. Many years ago, it seemed someone had said that to him. The fleeting old memory made the corner of his lips twitch slightly. At the same time, the two people in the front were in a constant state of panic. They could only look up to the heavens and cry, "Save us, fourth uncle is being teased. He won't get angry and bring disaster upon us all, will he?" A while later, the car stopped by the roadside, the pitter-patter of rain still falling outside the window. The driver slowly spoke. "Little girl, we've arrived at the place you mentioned." Bai Chuwei happily waved. "Thank you all for the ride." Her voice was as clear as a spring breeze. Her eyes followed the car as it slowly started and drove away. Inside the car, he habitually touched the prayer beads on his left wrist while keeping his eyes fixed on her. That slender back seemed to be deeply etched into his eyes. This girl is very strange. Have someone investigate her identity. Inside a luxurious living room with a high, exquisitely carved ceiling, an elderly man was shouting angrily. "Do my words have no effect anymore?" His voice echoed like thunder on a clear day. He was the head of the Bai family, Bai Guofu. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. "I told you people to go pick her up. Why didn't you go?" He then slammed the cane in his hand onto the floor, creating a sound that shook the entire grand hall. At this moment, a girl with a face as pale as morning frost blown by the winter wind secretly grumbled to herself, "Isn't she just some country bumpkin from who knows where? Why bother picking her up?" She was the daughter of the Bai family's second branch, Bai Inin. Hearing those words made the person opposite her so angry he couldn't form a sentence. "You people." Suddenly, the clicking sound of the door opening interrupted him. A figure slowly entered, as if the air in the room had just been split in two. Then she spoke. "You all didn't send anyone to pick me up, so I came by myself." All eyes in the room turned to Bai Chuwei, captivated by her beauty. At this moment, she tossed the keys in her hand and said confidently, "Hello, everyone. I am Bai Chuwei." Hearing the sound, his face turned pale as he looked behind him. Bai Guofu froze for a moment. Then, tears streamed down his face uncontrollably. He rushed forward. Old ancestor, you've finally come. Xiaofu has missed you so much. 60 years ago, on a quiet, misty afternoon, a sound that seemed to echo from the depths of his consciousness suddenly rang out. Xiaofu was just a young man back then. His eyes shone with a resolute light. Step by step, he ventured into the deep, pathless forest. The gaunt figure, covered in mud, was the Bai Guofu of many years ago. Before his eyes was a vast, endless wasteland, but he didn't mind the hardship, crossing through dense forests and high mountains alone, with a fragile belief and an iron will, trying to find the old ancestor to ask for help. His body was on the verge of complete collapse. His breathing was chaotic, every muscle in his body tense with exhaustion. His whole body trembled uncontrollably. His steps slowed, becoming heavy. In his heart, only a thin sliver of hope remained. He didn't know if he had enough strength to last until he met that person. Suddenly, amidst the air thick with the musty smell of decaying trees, a gentle yet profound fragrance wafted past his nose, jolting him. That scent seemed to awaken his fading consciousness. He immediately stumbled towards it as if mesmerized. That fragrance was unlike anything he had ever encountered in the mortal world, as if it came from tens of thousands of thousand-year-old orchids blooming in the heart of the tranquil mountain. Soon, he arrived at the place. What met his eyes were petals fluttering in the wind. He opened his eyes wide in astonishment. Before him was a young woman dressed in the attire of an old era. Her round, innocent eyes looked at him as she asked, Hey, what's wrong with you? Hey, but at this moment, his vision began to blur. Everything seemed to dance. His body completely lost its strength. He collapsed onto the cold ground, his breath as fragile as the last thread holding onto his consciousness. He whispered, I am a member of the Bai family. Old ancestor, save me. Back to the present. In a luxuriously decorated but quiet hall of the Bai family. The moment he saw his benefactor from all those years ago again, Bai Guofu was too moved to speak. Ha ha ha. It's been so long. Old ancestor, you are indeed as young as the first time we met. If you hadn't saved me back then and given me so many seeds, how could the Bai family have achieved what it has today? Murmurs immediately broke out around them. Everyone's eyes couldn't hide their astonishment. Someone whispered, What the hell is this? Has the old master gone senile? Pulling a strange girl to reminisce about the old days, and even calling her old ancestor. Bai Chu Wei, at this moment, was sipping her tea, each movement light and graceful, as she replied nonchalantly, It's nothing. Speaking of which, we haven't seen each other for nearly 20 years. Xiaofu, how is your health now? Hearing this, he immediately replied, Old ancestor, Xiaofu is doing very well. Then he confessed with some embarrassment. It's just that I missed the taste of the vegetables you grew yourself. His bright eyes made her look away slightly. She replied hesitantly, Unfortunately, I hitched a ride with someone earlier, so I gave all the vegetables I picked to the car owner. Hearing this, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. What? Then Bai Guofu glared at the group of people standing there, his eyes as sharp as sparks. The main reason was this unfilial bunch. They caused all of his green vegetables to be lost. The whole group turned pale, cold sweat breaking out, hearts pounding. They were in chaos, not understanding why the old master had flown into such a rage. They mumbled, What's he talking about? Why is the old master glaring at us? At this moment, she gently placed her teacup on the table. The sound was small, but it made the atmosphere even more tense. Speaking of which, the current residents of the Bai family, before she could finish her sentence by Yin, standing behind, cupped her ears to eavesdrop, thinking smugly, A country bumpkin indeed. I can't believe she's so impressed by such a beautiful house. But Bai Chu Wei just sighed softly. Her eyes swept around the old-fashioned room. Then she bluntly criticized it without holding back. It's small and dilapidated. It doesn't have the slightest air of a family that once dominated the mountainside. Xiaofu, how did the Bai family become so miserable? In your hands? This time, it was Bai Yin's turn to feel like she'd been struck by lightning. Her whole body stiffened. Then she rushed forward to argue angrily. Why do you have to speak to my grandfather like that? Do you know how expensive the land for the villas on Songbai Road is? Just our house alone is worth 50 million. Even if we sold you, you couldn't even afford the toilet in my house. Before she could look triumphant, she was met with a fiery slap from Bai Guofu. He sternly shouted, Yin, how dare you speak to the old ancestor like that? Having been slapped, she held her cheek, her eyes welling up with tears. She said chokingly, Grandpa, you hit me for an outsider you don't even know? You've never hit me before. He was trembling with anger at this point, lecturing her. How can the old ancestor be considered an outsider? Yin, You must learn to behave with propriety. Apologize to the old ancestor immediately. But Bai Inin paid no attention, burying herself in her mother's arms and stubbornly replying, "No way. Why should I apologize to that cheap person?" Those words made him tremble with anger, and he slammed his cane on the ground. Then he turned to her and said embarrassedly, "I made a fool of myself in front of you, old ancestor. It's my fault for not raising my granddaughter strictly. The Bai family has indeed declined a lot in my hands." Chue wasn't bothered, simply replying calmly, "It's all right. She has her own destiny. By the way, has the matter of my enrollment in Haihua No. 1 High School been settled?" Bai Guofu immediately and eagerly replied, "Yes." But before he could finish the sentence, he froze, his mind racing. Wait, although the old ancestor's enrollment has been arranged, she still doesn't have a household registration. The second son's family is not worthy. If I put her name on his household register, his family might receive her blessings. But right in front of him was the sight of Bai Inin crying in her mother's arms, with her two helpless parents trying to comfort her. He then turned to Chu Wei, saying hesitantly, "Old ancestor, the enrollment matter will take a few days to resolve, but studying outside requires reliable parents to accompany you." She nodded and asked back, "So?" The person opposite her forced a stiff smile and continued, "So, Xiaofu was thinking perhaps the old ancestor could endure a small grievance and be registered as the adopted daughter of my second son, Bai Huangguang. What do you think?" Hearing this, she froze, thinking to herself, "This Xiaofu is trying to divert all the attention to me for his granddaughter's sake." However, the power of the plot is truly too strong. In the original story, the original owner was an orphan who was registered as the adopted daughter of the Bai family's second branch to enroll in Haihua No. 1 High School. After a moment of contemplation, she nodded. A cry of pain rang out. Someone fell to the floor, clutching their leg and groaning. Bai Huangguang shot up in alarm, turning to the person beside him and shouting, "Into the Bai family. No, how would I dare? I only heard Dad talk about the adoption, but I didn't think she would be staying at our house." Bai Guofu was stunned when he heard that. A wave of worry rose in his heart. No way. Could it be that letting the old ancestor stay with them would become a disaster for them? He then turned to look at the person behind him, hesitatingly speaking, "Old ancestor, this matter, if you find it unsuitable, I will." But Bai Chue just waved her hand lightly, saying calmly, "There's nothing unsuitable about it." Immediately after, her face softened slightly, the corners of her lips curling into a gentle smile like a spring breeze. Her voice was as light as a whisper, but carried clear encouragement. "Dad, you can do it. I hope you can convince Mom soon." Those words made everyone present freeze, the silence becoming suffocating. As for her, she clenched her fists tightly, her eyes shining with excitement, cheering internally. I love watching a dog-eat-dog show the most. Hearing those words of encouragement made by Huangguang's wife grind her teeth in resentment, her eyes filled with anger. That lowly brat called him dad so quickly. She must be Bai Huangguang's illegitimate daughter from outside. A clear conclusion seemed to flash in her mind. What old ancestor? She would never believe such a ridiculous story. Bai Guofu couldn't hold back any longer. He slammed his hand on the table, the sound echoing through the hall and startling everyone. "All right, don't embarrass us any further. Inin, the old ancestor probably doesn't have a phone. Go buy her the newest, best one. I'll have someone transfer the money to you." Hearing this, although her heart was filled with anger, Bai Inin couldn't refute it. With her grandfather personally giving the order, she could only grit her teeth and swallow her anger, silently cursing in her heart. "On what grounds? My phone is already a year old, and you never even thought of buying me a new one. A country girl just shows up and already wants to steal my position. This young lady will deal with you sooner or later." Bai Chu Wei, witnessing the entire tense but restrained drama from the side, felt a cool breeze pass through her heart, her mood becoming even more refreshed. She thought to herself, "I don't understand what's going on in the heads of this mother and daughter. Their eyes are about to pop out of their sockets." She gently adjusted her hair and asked, "By the way, where's my room?" Bai Guofu was about to answer, but was mercilessly cut off by his granddaughter. She quickly interjected, "The third floor. We've specially prepared it for you." Hearing this, he frowned, a memory immediately surfacing in his mind. The third floor? Isn't that just a storage room? He gritted his teeth. "Inin, you." But Bai Chu Wei didn't seem to mind. Her voice was as light as a breeze as she nodded in acceptance without any hesitation. All right, I'll stay there then. Her action left the people behind her bewildered. No. Old ancestor, you can stay in the room opposite Enin's room. Outwardly, her expression remained calm, her voice as gentle as before, but there's no need. At my age, I'm already used to such material conditions. But deep in her eyes, a hard-to-notice coldness glinted because she remembered clearly. In the original story, the original Bai Chu-wei stayed in the room opposite Enin's room and ended up being endlessly harassed. The third floor might be more peaceful. With that thought, she turned and walked away, her hair flying gently in the air. The eyes of those around her couldn't help but follow her, mesmerized. Miss Chu-wei is so beautiful, like a fairy descended to earth. No woman in Haicheng has such a temperament. Miss Chu-wei is both beautiful and aloof. The endless whispers of admiration made by Enin's heart feel like it was on fire. A surge of jealousy made her grind her teeth. Bai Chu-wei, tonight I'll show you what this young lady is made of. Arriving at the third floor, the smell of must and dust filled the space. The wooden cabinets and floor were covered in a thick layer of dust. Bai Guofu walked in, looking around with embarrassment and guilt. Old ancestor, why are you staying in an attic like this? Let Xiaofu pick a better room for you. But Bai Chu-wei let out a long, tired yawn, gently rubbing her forehead. Her weary voice sounded. Xiaofu, I'm tired. He immediately understood and nodded without hesitation. All right then, old ancestor, you should rest first. If you need anything, just find me anytime. I know, you can go. As soon as she finished speaking, the door closed quietly behind him. She sighed as if a weight had been lifted and walked slowly to the window. Her eyes quietly observed the scene outside. Suddenly, a small shadow caught her eye. A round object was trying to squeeze through a narrow gap in the door. It was a chubby hamster, struggling to get in by any means necessary. Once inside, it rolled onto the windowsill. Seeing it, she exclaimed in surprise, "Snowball, I thought you weren't coming back." It was clutching its head in pain. Hearing her voice, its eyes immediately lit up with emotion. It rushed forward to hug her, but was quickly lifted up by her. A cute voice whined, "I'll follow you wherever you go. It's just that this hamster body is a bit slow to catch up." Hearing this, she lightly scolded, "You still have the nerve to say that? I've been giving you spiritual enlightenment for 20 years, and you still don't even know how to transform." It struggled incessantly, trying its best to argue back. "You can't blame me for this. Isn't it said that after the warring states period, animals are not allowed to become spirits?" Just as it finished speaking, the familiar sound of the system rang out. Beep, the storyline has begun. Host, please make all those who bullied the original owner lose all their face. Hearing the mechanical voice, she was a little surprised. The system is alive again? Before she could react, it reported an error. Beep, beep, beep. An irreversible system error has been detected. Initiating self-repair function. Please do not disturb. She shrugged and smiled helplessly. Hith. As expected, this is the familiar style of this piece of junk system. Go on and repair yourself. It will be best if you repaired for another few thousand years. Suddenly, her chest throbbed with a sharp pain. Her heart pounded erratically, her face turning pale. Snowball shouted in panic. Ouch! What's wrong with you? She staggered towards the bed. With a trembling hand, she opened the lid of a small jade medicine bottle and quickly swallowed a pill. Her breathing gradually stabilized, and her complexion eased a bit, but she still couldn't hide her discomfort. It's really hard to swallow. She gently comforted it. Don't worry. I've had this heart condition since 5,000 years ago. Only spiritual medicine with enough spiritual energy can soothe it. Snowball froze, its eyes heavy with memories. But before, on the mountain, it trailed off, unable to finish the sentence, a dull sense of guilt gnawing at its heart. Her eyes suddenly lit up. An idea flashed like a spark in the dark night. There's enough spiritual energy on the mountain. This illness doesn't act up often. Besides, I'll also stay away from you. Hearing this, it blurted out worriedly. Squeak, squeak. So that's how it is. How about I become a mobile spiritual energy bank for you? That way, you won't be in pain anymore. Hearing this, Bai Chu-wei's eyes widened as she thought to herself. A spiritual energy bank. The image of the man she met in the car that morning immediately appeared in her mind. It couldn't be him, could it? If I can get some spiritual energy from him, then I won't have to drink that bitter medicine anymore in the future. At this thought, she licked her lips with interest. A few hours later, at the Duan residence, the ticking of a clock echoed steadily in the oppressive air. A man in a white coat stood silently for a long time before slowly speaking. Mr. Duan's cancer has progressed beyond the intervention of modern medicine. I hope you will all prepare for the worst. Those words were like a cold knife stabbing straight into the hearts of everyone in the room. A white-haired old man, his body frail, his eyes red from holding back his emotions, choked out in despair. Tingji, didn't you and fourth uncle go look for some miracle doctor? Where is he? The young man could only bowed his head. His low voice seemed to carry the weight of a mountain on his shoulders. It seems it was fake. There was no divine doctor from the beginning. The old man felt as if he had been struck by lightning on a clear day. His body froze. His voice trembled with despair, as if losing his last hope. No divine doctor. If there's no divine doctor, does his father have to die? The man standing behind glanced away indifferently, not uttering another word. Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps broke the heavy atmosphere. A girl ran in frantically, calling out loudly, "Fourth young master. This lady says she has met the divine doctor of White Mist Mountain. It's not a rumor." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. The woman looked flustered, but quickly nodded. Her eyes were firm. Her voice was sincere, mixed with urgency. "If you're talking about the divine doctor of White Mist Mountain, then it's true that I have met her. She has extraordinary medical skills, let alone stomach cancer. As long as they're not completely dead, she can save them." Her appearance was gentle, appearing and disappearing amidst the misty fog on the mountain. "The vegetables, could it be?" he asked in a deep voice. "What does that divine doctor look like?" The woman immediately took out her phone, her voice full of excitement. "Divine doctor by is very beautiful, always like a little girl, like a fairy. My son just bought me this phone. It was divine doctor by who taught me how to use it. I have a photo of us together in here." In the photo was a girl as picturesque as a painting. "Isn't that the girl who hitched a ride the other day?" Yes. She also said Grandpa's illness was a problem with his stomach." The man beside him immediately frowned and asked, "Were the vegetables she gave us?" The young man was startled. His face darkened, remembering what she said. Those vegetables could help treat Grandpa. His face turned pale as he cried out, "The vegetables, that's right. She said those vegetables could help reduce Grandpa's symptoms." Then, as if electrocuted, he shot out of the room. "Damn it, don't tell me the kitchen took those vegetables and made soup for the maids to eat. You scoundrels, the vegetables. Show mercy." The man behind him slowly returned the phone to the woman. His calm and steady voice rang out, "Send this photo to me. Don't reveal her identity." Then he immediately ordered people to be arranged to find her. The other two, although a bit confused, hurriedly replied, "Yes." He looked at the photo. The corners of his lips curled into a rare smile. "I didn't expect to have the chance to meet again." Meanwhile, on the third floor of the Bai family's villa, Bai Chu-wei was leaning back in her chair, slowly turning the pages of a book. The gentle late-day sun streamed through the window, shining on her shoulders, creating a peaceful scene, completely opposite to the chaos outside. A knock on the door was heard. Knock, knock, knock. Bai Yining walked in, holding a brand new phone. "Here, I bought you a phone. The new card is already installed." She took it casually. Her eyes swept over it and immediately noticed something was wrong. This is a phone she had used before. Inside, the other person was screaming incessantly. I can't believe she saw through it. This country bumpkin can even identify the model. She gritted her teeth and growled. "So what if I've used it? Has a country bumpkin like you ever used an iPhone XR? Giving you a used phone is already giving you face. People like you only deserve to use old things. Over 10,000 yuan. Sooner or later it will be mine." Humming her favorite song, she left triumphantly. The person behind her didn't care at all, just bowed her head and focused on operating the screen. Snowball, lying on her shoulder, couldn't help but mock. Is she stupid? Giving someone a phone without wiping the data clean. Doesn't she know that data can still be recovered? She just sighed, her voice as calm as flowing water. "That's true. There aren't many fools who hand over their own weaknesses to others." Thinking to herself, but it's right for her to be stupid. Who's to blame the original work for being a Mary Sue? All the supporting characters have to have their IQ lowered to pave the way for the naive female lead. When the data recovery was complete, a series of messages appeared. She lifted her lips slightly. Her voice rose, full of sarcasm. "Morals have really declined. This Yining is being ambiguous with a whole bunch of male students." She clicked her tongue, her eyes half annoyed, half mocking. "You've lived on the mountain, isolated from the world for too long. Being ambiguous now just means talking." Snowball tilted its head, looking innocent. Absorbing new knowledge made her enlightened. She said lightly, "So that's how it is. I must have forgotten. It's been 5,000 years. My memory is full. It's normal to lose a few things. The sky gradually darkened. The orange-yellow light faded behind the mountains. A knock on the door was heard again. A voice called from outside, "Miss Chu-Wei, it's time for dinner. The old master and the eldest young miss are waiting for you." The person in the room quickly replied, "Okay, I'll be right out." At the formally set dining table, Bai Guofu and his granddaughter were playing the role of a model family. Bai Yining frowned and reproached, making Grandpa wait to eat. "You really have no manners." The person next to her immediately frowned. His eyes stern, Yining. "It's normal for the ancestor to make us wait a little. It's normal." Bai Chu-Wei just smiled gently, a smile as warm as a spring breeze. Her gentle voice rang out. "Bai Yining, are you sure you gave that phone to me? Is everything inside mine?" Seeing the person in front of her playing dumb made her tremble inside. Fear surged, making her clench her jaw. Damn it, is this bitch going to snitch about the phone to Grandpa? I can't let her succeed. Bai Yining's face froze as if it were frozen. Her heart pounded, trying to maintain her composure. She forced a smile. "That's right. If I gave it to you, it's yours. What does it have to do with me?" Then she quickly turned to Bai Guofu, her face trying to look wronged, her voice soft. "Grandpa, look at her. I already bought her 256G phone, and she's still not satisfied. You've always taught us to be frugal." Inside, she screamed triumphantly. "Haha, Grandpa has always been frugal." Hearing this will surely make him angry. That way, she won't be able to snitch anymore. But contrary to her expectations, he pondered for a moment, then said in a low voice, "Yining, what's wrong with this child? If the ancestor doesn't like the 256G phone, then buy a more expensive one. If 10,000 isn't enough, I'll give you 20,000. If you can't buy one, you can have one custom-made." Those words were like a hard slap that made her head spin. What on earth is wrong with Grandpa? Why is he treating this bitch so well? While the atmosphere was as tense as a guitar string, Bai Chu-Wei suddenly burst out laughing. Her laughter was as light as flowing water, but held a sharp edge. Her voice rang out gently, full of hidden meaning. "Yining, actually, I just wanted to confirm, so that in the future, if I happen to see something I shouldn't see, it won't cause any misunderstandings." Those words hit the other person like a blow to the heart. She froze, her eyes wide with horror. "What do you mean, something I shouldn't see? What are you talking about?" The person opposite her remained calm. Her voice was steady, like sharp knife cuts, reading out each name from the messages. "Tay Tian, Huyan Tra, Lahai Luong, Daik Tun Bin." Huh? How does she know? Yining screamed in her head. Her face turned ashen. Her whole body trembled as if frozen, unable to speak a word. At Hang Hoa High School, a car drove into the schoolyard, slowly stopping. The car door then slowly opened. Bai Chu-Wei got out with an elegant grace. Her aura radiated like a soft light enveloping her. Her soft hair fluttered gently in the wind, drawing all eyes to her. In just an instant, she had captured the attention of everyone around. Pa, so pretty. I declare her the new goddess of my heart. Ooh, her aura is amazing. The clothes she's wearing are all designer brands. Why have I never seen her before? Is she a new transfer student? While all eyes were still fixed on Bai Chu-Wei, Bai Yining also got out from the back of the car. Her face was heavily made up, but no one looked back at her. Not a single eye cared about her appearance. Damn it, I knew that if I went to school with her, I would be overshadowed. And the clothes she's wearing, didn't I secretly cut them to shreds? Could it be that Grandpa bought her 2 identical sets? She resentfully clenched her fists, approaching with a stern face. "Hey, at school, don't talk nonsense about the Bai family's affairs. And the phone, otherwise I'll definitely teach you a lesson." Hearing these threats, but the person next to her showed no change in emotion. Her eyes just glanced at the other person with indifference. "You should just worry about yourself." She seemed to already know everything she had done, was known to her. She angrily turned to leave, but the person behind her wouldn't let her go so easily. Bai Chu-Wei said nonchalantly, "Cutting my clothes and still acting all high and mighty. You really want to be taught a lesson." She then flicked a finger lightly. An invisible spiritual force immediately spread out towards the target. Bai Yining suddenly heard a strange sound right next to her ear. "Hey, what's that sound?" The uniform she was wearing was suddenly torn to shreds in a strange way, revealing the colorful bikini underneath. The scene immediately caused a stir among the surrounding students. The surrounding classmates began to whisper, "Damn, what is this? Isn't she Bai Yining from the 3rd year?" She blushed and knelt on the ground, covering herself with her hands. Her face flushed with shame. Just wanted to disappear from the world. What on earth is going on? Stop looking. Get lost, all of you. The person behind her didn't bother to turn her head, walking away with a calm demeanor, her eyes cold. Oomph. You reap what you sow. Bai Chuwei gently found her way to the school's administration area, entering the hallway leading to the teacher's office. Standing in front of the door, she knocked gently a few times, then said politely, "Hello, teacher. I'm here to report." Behind the slightly ajar door, a middle-aged man in a neat shirt, glasses perched on his nose. This was the head teacher of class 953, Zhou Feng. He then pushed up his glasses and looked at her with a serious expression. "You're Bai Chuwei, aren't you?" "Yes." "Hello, Teacher Zhou." Teacher Zhou Feng stood up, silently observing the person in front of him for a moment, his eyes full of consideration and evaluation. This student just came from the countryside, and Mr. Bai insisted on putting her in the advanced class. What a nuisance. Then his voice became firm, full of warning. "Miss Bai, you only want to be in class 953? The academic pressure in our advanced class is very high. It will be very difficult for you to join the class in the middle of the term." She then maintained her gentle smile, her face as calm as an autumn breeze. "Teacher Zhou, you don't need to worry. My purpose in coming to school is not to study." As soon as she finished speaking, she silently added the answer in her mind, but to follow the plot. The teacher froze for a few seconds, as if he had been ambushed. What? If you don't come to school to study, then what are you here for? But then Zhou Feng began to think, remembering the whispers of the female students. Wait, I get it. Those female students kept talking about Duan Jingye and Su Jingshan in my class being something like the school heartthrobs of Hang Hoa. This Bai Chuwei must be just like those brainless female students who only come to chase after boys. So annoying. Bai Chuwei noticed the fleeting expression of annoyance on his face. She felt a little bewildered. His expression seems just like me. Teacher Zhou then turned on his heel, his voice sharp. "Follow me to class. I'm telling you beforehand, if you disturb other student studies, no matter what your background is, I will definitely expel you." At this moment, as a divine doctor with 5,000 years of practice, Bai Chuwei could tell the other person's health problem with just a glance. She silently wondered, this teacher, there's something wrong with him. Then she quickly spoke up. "Teacher Zhou, wait." He then shouted impatiently, "What else do you want?" The person behind her then replied gently. Her voice was steady but full of certainty. "Teacher, I advise you to go to the hospital for a CT scan, especially of the breast." Zhou Feng was stunned. His expression changed constantly. "Miss Bai, are you saying I have a disease related to the breast? I'm a man, and you think your eyes are X-ray machines? How can you conclude such things just by looking?" "I can't explain further," she just said lightly like a passing breeze. "I just saw that you're a good teacher, so I gave you a pointer. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. Let's go to class." Teacher Zhou stood stunned, with hundreds of questions overlapping in his mind. Weirdo. When they arrived in front of class 953, Zhou Feng had just started the introduction. "This is class 953 for now on if you." Before he could finish, he was interrupted by a loud cheer. "Divine Dr. Bai, could it be that you're the new transfer student? Why are you here?" That person's eyes lit up as if he had discovered a treasure. He shot up from his desk. Here. Sit next to me. Be my desk mate." Jingye then kept trying to pull the person in front of him. That action caused a commotion in the whole class. The girls immediately turned to look at each other with angry eyes. Isn't Duan Jingye not interested in girls? Why did he change as soon as Bai Chuwei arrived? On the contrary, the male students looked at her with admiration. Damn it, if it were me, if I could be desk mates with such a pretty girl, then I'd have to say that foolish boy Duan Jingye is lucky. Bai Chuwei observed quietly. So the boy I met last time is the cannon fodder in the novel, Duan Jingye. Then his desk mate now is the beauty with a tragic fate in the novel, the male lead, Duan Jingye's half-brother, Su Jingshan. If I remember correctly, Su Jingshan went from being poor to getting a chance to turn his life around, being accepted into the Duan family, which is Duan Jingye's death. Pity this fool who, even at the time of his death, still didn't know. The friend he thought was a good friend was actually his half-brother who wanted to fight for the family assets with him. In the present, the boy was bowing, pleading pitifully. "Jingshan, please make some room. I have something to ask Divine Dr. Bai for." Her thoughts spun continuously, and she seemed to realize something was wrong. Wait, does that mean the Tang monk from that day? Isn't he Duan Jingye's fourth uncle, the villain of the novel, Duan Fan? If that's really the case, then my system's mission can't be completed. Otherwise, the Tang monk's flesh will fly away. Suddenly, a call from behind pulled her out of her thoughts. Classmate Bai, Su Jingshin had already packed his things, looked at her, and said with a smile, "This spot is cleared. You can come and sit here now." She was a bit flustered at this, and replied softly, "Thank you." As soon as she sat down, Jingyan next to her enthusiastically continued, "My fourth uncle has been looking for you these past few days. I have to let him know. Divine Dr. Bai, thank you so much for that day. My grandpa is much better thanks to those vegetables." At this moment, the teacher standing nearby began to feel confused. Could it be this student by Chu Wei really knows medicine? Should I consider going for checkup? At the same time, in a quiet office, Duan Fan was carefully reviewing documents when his phone vibrated. A message appeared on the screen. Fourth uncle, I found that divine doctor by Chu Wei is now my desk mate." He silently read every word carefully, typing back a short message. "Her name is by Chu Wei." The boy immediately sent several question marks. "Why do you always miss the point?" But the other person didn't seem to care about Duan Jingye's next sentence. On the handsome but cold face of the man, a fleeting smile appeared as he whispered by Chu Wei. Outside, the towering buildings packed closely together. A female secretary walked in with a cheerful look, carrying items that had been carefully prepared beforehand. "President Duan, the high-end suit is ready. Please take a look." Duan Fan glanced at the suit for a moment, his brows furrowing slightly as if in thought. "This seems too formal. Are there any women's clothes?" Hearing this, the secretary froze, her eyes wide with astonishment. What the hell? Women's clothes? A vague fear arose in the secretary's heart. Old President Duan is seriously ill, and now the boss is suddenly like a withered tree blooming. Seeing the face of the person in front of her darker than the bottom of a pot, the female secretary quickly turned around, stammering, "President Duan, rest assured, I'll go by it immediately." Not long after, he slowly sent a short message. "No school today. I'm coming to pick you all up." Over here, the bell signaling the end of class rang, like a command for release. Zhou Feng immediately stood up and left the classroom. This unusual action made the students bewildered and start discussing. Wow, has the demon Zhou changed his ways? He didn't teach overtime today, and he didn't ask this and that during class either. At Jingye's desk, Bai Chu Wei had just lifted her head from the desk, her eyes still a bit drowsy. Jingye saw this and grinned. Divine Dr. Bai, you're awake. Sleeping through Zhou Feng's class. Without being discovered, you're really lucky. Hearing this, she smiled and replied, "Luck. This isn't luck, it's the effect of my little spell. Pretend you didn't see." This statement stunned Jingye, who asked in surprise, "A spell? Pretend you didn't see? Divine Dr. Bai, what are you talking about?" She then flicked her finger, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "It's nothing, just consider a joke." While Jingye was still bewildered, Su Jingshin came over with a tall stack of books. "Classmate Bai, these are the new books I got for you. I hope you can integrate into our class soon." Murmurs arose from the group of female students. Their eyes were fixed on him with admiration. Su Jingshin is as dashing as ever. It would be great if you were my boyfriend. You're dreaming. The class president is mine. Bai Chu Wei looked at the stack of books in front of her. Her smile vanished. Her eyes suddenly became distant, cold, and thoughtful. I remember in the novel, Su Jingshin used this kind of concern too. Win the affection of the original owner. Unfortunately, the person here now is me. Then she said softly, "Thank you," as she turned her face away, muttering, "Next is literature, right?" Ignoring the person standing beside her with an awkward expression, his mood was now as tangled as a mess of thread. TSK, why is she so indifferent? She should have blushed and thanked me. Suddenly, Chu Wei sneezed. The action made the person opposite her slightly startled. Jingye then asked worriedly, "Divine Dr. Bai, what's wrong?" Her hand quickly pointed to the book, and she said in a somewhat embarrassed tone, "I didn't think students nowadays would have to memorize the poems I wrote." Hearing this, he froze, his eyes wide with astonishment. You said this poem, Peach Blossom Spring Overture, you wrote it?" Bai Chu Wei nonchalantly confirmed. "That's right." Suddenly from the opposite side, a female student heard this and couldn't hold back her anger, blurting out a sarcastic remark. now you don't even need to draft your boasts. This masterpiece of a poem is yours. Why don't you just say you can only buy two? At this, Bai Chuwei replied in a calm but confident voice, I know him too. We were friends. Back then, he liked to invite me for drinks, and when he was drunk, he would write poetry. The crowd immediately started whispering. No one believed her words. They felt the new classmate was very beautiful. But does she have a problem with her brain? Where did this high school girl with delusional disorder come from? At this moment, the female student in front, scared but still stubborn, raised her voice challengingly. Why don't you say? Mountain Moon Chronicles, known as the most famous among the classics, and that everyone has to study, was also written by you? At this, Bai Chuwei's face showed a hint of confusion. Isn't Mountain Moon Chronicles the novel about a eunuch that I casually wrote when I was 200 years old? How did it become so highly regarded too? At this moment, Jingye seriously took her hand, his eyes full of earnestness. Divine Dr. Bai, let's talk about these things later. Can you see if you can save my grandpa? Money is not an issue. After hearing this, she gently raised her hand, signaling refusal. Don't talk about money with me. The total assets of your entire Duan family are not even half of mine. After saying that, she thought to herself, that's the wealth I've accumulated over 5,000 years. But then her eyes suddenly changed color. As if remembering something, she gave a somewhat wicked smile. However, if you can offer a person, then I can reconsider. At this moment, the image of Duan Fan slowly replayed in her mind. The surrounding students gaped. Is this Chuwei girl really sick? To look down on the 100-year-old wealthy Duan family. And also, what does offering a person mean? Is she dreaming of marrying into a rich family? Just then, the classroom door burst open, and a female voice rang out like a thunderclap in broad daylight. Didn't you hear the bell for class? School is not a market. If some female students come to school to fall in love, don't corrupt the other students. At this, she looked at the person standing at the door and slowly judged. You have a sickness too. Hearing these words, the whole class fell silent, their eyes wide, silently praising. Impressive. She even dares to offend the narrow-minded Ms. Lee. The person opposite her was furious, hands on her hips, questioning. You, how dare you curse a teacher? At this, Bai Chuwei helplessly replied in a soft voice. I'm telling the truth. You should go for a checkup when you have time. As she finished speaking, she thought to herself, I don't know how these people have lived all these years. Every single one of them is sick. At this, Ms. Lee froze. The scene of teacher Zhou collapsing earlier flashed in her mind. It turns out men can also get breast disease. I have to go get checked. I have to go. Remembering Zhou Feng's words. At that time, she was supporting him while shouting loudly. Teacher Zhou, what's wrong? Why are you talking nonsense as soon as you open your mouth? Quick, call someone. At this, Ms. Lee thought to herself. No wonder teacher Zhou fainted as soon as he got back to the office. He must have been angered by this new student. Then she slammed the documents on the desk and said through gritted teeth, Suin G channel, remember to subscribe to the channel, my dear family. It's very good. When not having a lesson this period, take out a piece of paper and prepare for a test. Hearing this, the whole class groaned. Huh? At this moment, looking at the test paper being handed out, Bai Chuwei sighed in frustration. Why do modern tests examine the poems I wrote? And I even have to analyze the meaning behind each word. It really doesn't have that much meaning or emotion. After school, the students' complaints echoed endlessly. Damn it, I thought she was a little fairy. Turns out she has a problem with her brain. Forget it, a pretty vase who can't speak properly. Making us take a test. I also don't know why Duan Jingye keeps calling her a divine doctor. He was even chasing after her after class just now. Over here, Jingye was shamelessly pleading. Divine doctor, I beg you to save my grandpa. His condition is very unstable, but the person in front of him still walked on coldly. This is not my business. I'm very busy. He pleaded in a small voice. Don't say that. My fourth uncle is coming soon. At this moment, Bai Chuwei's footsteps suddenly stopped, causing Jingye, who couldn't react in time, to bump his face into her back. Chuwei said, Is the Tang monk's flesh coming soon? Tang monk's flesh. At this moment, while the other person was still dazed, a shiny black car pulled over to the side. She looked behind her as Duan Fan slowly got out, his elegant demeanor speaking up. Why do you always call me Tang monk's flesh? As soon as Jingye saw the person who had arrived, he happily waved and greeted. Fourth uncle, you're finally here. Then he quickly reported. Divine doctor, but doesn't want to come and treat Grandpa anymore. Duan Fan then spoke, his tone deep and steady, but carrying clear sincerity. Miss Bai, my father is gravely ill. His condition is critical. We urgently need you to treat him. We're willing to pay whatever you ask. At this moment, Bai Chui's expression was silent, as if she was considering, a hint of mischief flashing in her eyes. She spoke with a hidden meaning, whatever I ask. The person opposite her heard this and immediately replied with a decisive tone, of course. Why don't you think about how much you want to pay? The corners of her lips involuntarily curved into a mysterious smile, as if holding an unsaid meaning. All right, I'll go see the patient first, and then we'll talk. Jingye behind her nodded eagerly in an instant, his face showing relief as he thought. She agreed. But what were Divine Dr. Bai and fourth uncle being so mysterious about just now? Why did you change your mind so quickly? Meanwhile, Duan Fei Han gently pulled open the car door, his tone courteous. Divine Dr. Bai, please get in. This polite gesture left her stunned for a moment. His hand was still on the door handle, making the distance between them suddenly much closer. Bai Chui blurted out, "You smell so good." These words made the man beside her freeze, thinking in surprise, "I'm not wearing any cologne. What part of me smells good?" The car began to roll slowly, leaving the school grounds. At this moment, Jingye couldn't contain his curiosity and asked, Divine Dr. Bai, how did you know my grandpa has a stomach illness? Also, can stomach cancer be cured? The person in the back then raised a hand to cover a long yawn, her voice lazy yet mysterious. If it's not fatal yet, it depends on my mood. As for how I know, if I said I calculated it, would you believe me? These words made the young boy frown. His round eyes filled with suspicion as he thought to himself, does this divine doctor have some kind of teenage delusion syndrome? Did she switch careers to become a divine swindler or something, specializing in scams? Suddenly, Duan Fei Han spoke coldly. You talk too much. His words, as cold as thousand-year-old ice, made Jingye quickly shrink back, his face full of remorse. Yes, I'll stop talking. But, fourth uncle, I just wanted to understand the divine doctor better. Seeing his predicament, Bai Chu Wei, sitting in the back, spoke up to help him out. We're desk mates. Don't call me divine doctor, just call me by my name. The young boy was now as excited as a child who had received a gift. Okay, Wei Wei. Those words made the man beside him frown. A thoughtful look crossed his eyes. Wei Wei, this seems to be the first time I've seen Duan Jingye so enthusiastic about a girl. At the same time, she, sitting beside him, looked at his expression and thought to herself, this kid really knows how to ride the wind and hoist the flag. However, this name, Wei Wei, after my old friend left 1,000 years ago, no one has dared to call me that. Suddenly, a heart pain struck and she staggered. Seeing this, Duan Fei Han quickly caught her. He asked in alarm, Miss Bai, are you all right? But by now, she was gradually stabilizing, her face flushing as she thought. As expected, inhaling the spiritual energy from his body is much more effective than eating those bitter spiritual medicines. Could it be that he saw I was having a heart attack? He really is like Tang Monk's flesh, so sensitive to the outside world. Suddenly, the driver in front announced, Fourth Master, young Master Jingye, we've arrived. As soon as she stepped out of the car, Bai Chu Wei felt a wave of familiar emotion rise up. That sense of familiarity was like a part of a forgotten memory. Strange, why does this place feel so familiar? Could it be that I've been here before, but forgot? Suddenly, the villa door opened. A woman stepped out with a bright smile to welcome them. Fourth Master, Jingye, you're back? She was Tong Qingyan. Upon seeing her, the young boy asked in surprise, Qingyan, why are you here? Hearing this, she spoke with even more confidence. I've invited a talent from the medical world, Old Lu, to come and examine Old Master Duan. I was about to go pick him up, but I didn't expect to run into you all here first. At this moment, Bai Chu Wei looked at the girl in front of her, a storm brewing in her heart. This must be the female lead from the novel, Tong Qingyan. Why does she look a bit like the girl I saved 40 years ago? At the same time, she moved closer to Duan Fei Han, her voice light. Fourth Master, long time no see. But he only gave a soft in response, showing no expression, forcing her to put on a stiff, reluctant smile to hide her awkwardness, thinking to herself, humph, Fourth Master is still so cold to me. Suddenly, she changed the subject to the person who had been standing silently. Oh, right. I still don't know who this young lady is. Hearing that, the other person slowly pointed to herself and introduced by Chu Wei. Those concise words left Tong Qingyan stunned. Her gaze froze. Bai Chu Wei, You must be the new transfer student at our school. Seeing that the other person knew her, she crossed her arms and replied nonchalantly, "It seems my story has already spread." What did they say? A compulsive liar, humiliated in front of the teacher, a delusional girl. Hearing the list of things the person in front of her recited, she became so frightened her face turned pale, her voice shrinking as she replied, I think people probably just don't understand you well yet. That's why there's a misunderstanding." But the person opposite her didn't seem worried at all and said casually, "Let them think what they want. By the way, what is Chimehua to you? I see you bear some resemblance to her." At this, she froze and shouted loudly, "Classmate Bai, Chimehua is my grandmother. She passed away 18 years ago. How can you address her directly by her name like that?" At this moment, she thought with some regret, "Tiskedeske, really, if I had known that the woman from my hometown I saved back then was the future female lead's grandmother, I would have charged a higher fee." Then she slowly spoke up, "All right, where's the patient? I'm here to see the patient. I'm not interested in family matters." Hearing that, Duan Jingye immediately led the way. "Grandpa is in the rear courtyard. Wei, I'll take you." Just then, Tong Qingyin tried to say more to Duan Fei Han, fourth master, but before she could finish, he cut her off. "She's my honored guest." These words made Tong Qingyin's expression freeze, her eyes clearly showing jealousy. "Fourth master has never brought me to the Duan residence before, let alone paid any attention to me. Is it because classmate Bai boasted she could cure old Master Duan that he's treating her so differently? If that's the case, I must go find old Lu quickly." Then she quickly turned and left, her steps hurried. "Classmate Bai, I won't give up fourth master to you so easily." At this moment, the room door was suddenly opened. Duan Jingye looked at the person behind him and said hurriedly, Wei, this is my grandfather. Please examine him quickly." But as soon as her eyes fell on the person lying unconscious on the bed, Bai Chui's gaze immediately changed. Her face turned dark and ugly as she thought to herself, "So it's him." Her hand unconsciously clenched into a fist that she angrily turned and walked out. Seeing this, Duan Fei Han frowned slightly and questioned, "Miss Bai, where are you going?" But she replied curtly, "This illness, I absolutely will not treat it." At the Duan residence, 20 years ago, a man was holding Bai Chui's hand tightly, trying to persuade her, Chu, don't worry. As long as you marry me, those bad people won't dare to do anything to you anymore. I, Duan Xiuqi, will definitely protect you completely." Looking at the tightly gripped hand, she just said coldly, "I, Bai Chu, do not need your protection, nor will I marry you. You'd better let me go." Hearing this, Duan Xiuqi became angry. He opened the door to go out, but still replied resolutely, "No, I will absolutely not let you go. It doesn't matter if you don't like me now. Sooner or later, you will see my good qualities." As soon as he finished speaking, the door was locked tight. The voices of the people outside droned on persistently like a disturbed beehive. "Miss Bai, Xiuqi really likes you. We hope you can reconsider. A grown man should take a wife. A grown woman should marry a husband. Miss Bai, just compromise. That's right, Miss Bai Chu, Mr. Duan loves you so much. He will definitely treat you very well. Miss Bai, it's best for a girl to have a stable home. Get married quickly and have a chubby baby. The Duan family, not minding that you're an orphan, is already very good." At this moment, she gritted her teeth, thinking to herself, "Duan Xiuqi, as a person, you should know when to be content." Bai Chui's body was trembling uncontrollably with anger. A while later, people shouted in alarm, "Miss Bai is missing. Go find her." By then, she had already managed to escape the room. Hearing the shouts behind her, she frowned and thought, so noisy. On what grounds does this family think they have a right to interfere in other people's lives? If my heart condition hadn't relapsed, I would have definitely taught that family a lesson today. At this moment, her breathing became more and more rapid. After running for a long stretch, she hit a dead end. "I'm done for, I don't know the way," and they're about to catch up. Suddenly, a small hand grabbed hers. Seeing the little boy, she asked in surprise, Han, why are you here?" But the little boy didn't say much and just pulled Bai Chui along with force. "Follow me. I know a secret path to escape." Seeing his action, she asked in surprise, "You want to let me go?" The boy nodded slightly and replied, "Yes. If Fairy Sister wants to go, then go." Suddenly, a voice called from behind, Chu, where are you?" The familiar sound startled them both. At this, she shouted in panic, "Hurry up. If we don't go now, we won't make it." The little boy beside her also quickly replied yes. After recalling that incident, Bai Chui frowned and then understood. "I knew it. No wonder Duan Fei Han looked so familiar." It turns out the fair, chubby child from back then has grown this big. Suddenly, Duan Fei Han frowned and asked, "Miss Bai, why did you refuse to treat my father?" Her face was dark as she crossed her arms and gave a random reason. "I'm in a bad mood." But in her heart, she was sneering relentlessly. Even though Duan Fei Han saved me back then, I haven't forgotten my hatred for the rest of the Duan family. At this, the man opposite her didn't give up. He continued to ask, "Then what would it take to put Miss Bai in a good mood?" She immediately said firmly, "Unless time flows backward. In short, I'm not treating this illness." At the same time, Tong Qingyan appeared from behind, her hands on her hips, speaking angrily. If your medical skills aren't good enough, just admit it honestly. Why act as if the Duan family owes you something?" Hearing that voice, Bai Chuwei quickly turned her head to look behind her and saw her standing smugly next to an old man, introducing him nonstop. "This is a medical genius, Old Lu, Mr. Luzhan. My aunt and I specially invited him to examine old Master Duan." The person Tong Qingyan mentioned was Tong Yunru, her paternal aunt. Those present couldn't help but be astonished. Luzhan, could it be the 120-year-old divine doctor who appeared on television? Didn't he already retire and stop seeing patients? At this moment, old Lu, with the aura of a genius radiating from his frowning eyes, said in a loud voice, "If it weren't for the sincerity of these two young ladies, I would not have come out of retirement." But Bai Chuwei just said nonchalantly, "You say my medical skills aren't good enough. How about tonight I find your master and see if he dares to stand and talk to me like this?" Hearing these words, old Lu became furious and pointed at her face, shouting, "You brat, you still reek of your mother's milk. Do not insult my master, who passed away more than 10 years ago." At this, she retorted playfully, "That's why I said tonight." Her words made the old man in front of her tremble with anger. "You!" Tong Qingyan, standing beside him, quickly pulled him back to placate him. "Old Lu, don't be angry. Let's go inside. The examination is more important." After a period of examination, a hesitant, worried voice asked, "Old Lu, how is old Master Duan's condition? Can he still be saved?" At this moment, the old master pulled out his acupuncture needles and asserted confidently, "Yes, I can help the old master live for a few more years. I'll begin the acupuncture now." Suddenly, Jingya looked at the person standing beside him watching the show and couldn't help but wonder, "Wei Wei, didn't you want to leave? Why are you still?" But before he could finish, she cut him off. "No rush. Let me finish watching the drama first." At the same time, Duan Fei Han, in the back, remained silent, staring intently at her back, his calm eyes seeming to be calculating something. One by one, the needles were inserted into the old man. When it came to the 7th needle, he suddenly coughed up blood violently. Cough, cough, cough. Seeing this, Jingya panicked and rushed to the bedside. "Grandpa, what did this quack do to my grandpa?" he questioned furiously. As for old Lu, his face had turned pale with fear. The hand holding the needle trembled as he stammered, "No, impossible. My treatment method isn't wrong. What did the old master consume before this? It must be that something was wrong with it." Suddenly, a hand pointed straight at her, shouting, "That's right. A few days ago, the old master was fed a few pieces of vegetables. Those vegetables were said to be a gift from this Miss Bai." Hearing these accusations, her expression remained calm as she replied, "If there was a problem with food from a few days ago, it would have taken effect long ago. Your medical skills aren't good enough, yet you want to blame others." Hearing this, Jingya hurriedly grabbed her shoulder and begged, Wei Wei, don't just stand there and watch. Please save my grandpa. He's going to die like this." At this moment, the man behind her also clenched his fists. Then he stepped forward and said in a clear voice, "Miss Bai, if you are willing to save my father, aside from the treatment fee, as long as it's not illegal, I can grant you any one request, unconditionally." The people behind them heard this and exclaimed in shock. A promise from the heir of a century-old, prestigious family. Fourth Master is so sincere in seeking a doctor. Hearing this, Bai Chuwei smiled faintly, then looked playfully at the man before her and said, "You said it yourself, Tang Monk's flesh." Then she coldly pushed old Lu aside. "Stand aside and watch, you disgrace." Those words made the old man so angry he was speechless. "You." Then she quickly took out the acupuncture needles that had been prepared beforehand, her eyes sharp, and immediately began inserting them. Each needle began to take effect, while old Lu, watching from behind, turned pale and stammered, "The 13 needles of the spirit path. How did you learn it?" "No, impossible. At your age, how could you possibly execute all 13 needles at once?" At this, she struck a confident, arrogant pose. "I created this acupuncture technique, so how could I not know it?" Hearing this, the man behind her hurriedly refuted, "Absurd. This technique has been passed down from ancient times for 4,000 years. How could it have been created by you?" Seeing that he still didn't believe her, Bai Chuwei sighed in helpless resignation, thinking, why are there always people who refuse to believe the truth? At this moment, a handkerchief gently touched her temple. Duan Fei Han, who had appeared by her side at some point, was slowly wiping the sweat from her forehead. This action made her say in surprise, "Thank you." Suddenly, a voice from behind announced, "Third Master Duan Shouqi has arrived at the door with Miss Tong. They're about to come over." Hearing this, her face paled, her brows knitting together tightly. Just then, Bai Chuwei quickly turned to leave. Jingye, seeing this from behind, hurriedly stopped her. Wei, where are you going?" "My third uncle is a huge star. Aren't you going to stay and meet him? I could get his autograph for you." At this, her voice, laced with anger, rang out, "Duan Shouqi." Then she turned her head, frowned at the person behind her, and replied, "I don't want his autograph, but I would very much like to have his life." Hearing this, his face paled several shades. Before he could recover, she had already left, not forgetting to say, "I'm going home for today. Mr. Duan's illness cannot be cured so easily. I'll prescribe some medicine tomorrow." After saying that, she thought to herself, so be it. Now is not the right time to make a move against the Duan family. Duan Shouqi, there's still a long time. At the same time, Duan Fei Han stepped forward to stop Jingye and slowly replied to her, "All right. In that case, Miss Bai, to make it easier to contact you later, could you leave your contact information?" Hearing this, she looked at him with some embarrassment and said, "I don't have any contact information for now. I don't even have my own phone yet." As soon as she finished, the smug look on Bai Yinin's face flashed in her mind. "The new phone just came into my possession, and I really don't want to use someone else's. Hand me down." At this, the man's eyes lit up, and he thought to himself, no phone? Then this is an opportunity to get closer. With that thought, he made a suggestion. "In that case, Miss Bai, let me take you home. We might pass by a shopping mall on the way. I'll buy you a new phone. What do you think?" Hearing this, Bai Chuwei said with some difficulty, but the other person had already leaned in, one hand around her shoulder, and added in a soft voice, "Miss Bai, follow me. We'll go through the rear courtyard, so we won't run into the person you don't want to see." Hearing that, her eyes widened, and a wave of emotion rose in her heart. I can't believe that after 20 years, the adorable little Duan from back then, who wanted to be held, has now become such a thoughtful man. Moreover, he's still wearing the prayer beads I gave him back then. After a moment of contemplation, she smiled at the person beside her and said, "Then thank you for your kind offer. Let's go." Seeing her expression, Duan Fei Han's face immediately turned bright red, and he stammered, "All right." By the time the sun began to set and the street lights started to turn on, the two had arrived at the shopping mall. Bai Chuwei walked into the store and said, "Hello, I'd like to buy a phone." The moment the sales guide saw her, her eyes immediately lit up as she thought, "Oh my God, this girl is drop-dead gorgeous." She then quickly flipped through the product catalog. "Okay, this is our newest and best-selling model, the Maoan V20, endorsed by the movie star Duan Shouqi." Hearing that name, the person's face immediately soured as she cursed inwardly. Why does it have to be Duan Shouqi? What bad luck? Then she said flatly, "Who is Duan Shouqi? I don't know him. Just give me the Maoan 10 Pro, the one with the highest storage capacity, in silver." At this time, two female students behind them also noticed the conversation. The employee was a bit flustered but quickly replied, "Of course, I'll go get it right away." Suddenly, a voice called from behind, "Miss." When she turned around, she saw two female students saying excitedly, "We heard everything you just said. If you don't know our Tutu, let us introduce him to you." The other one quickly chimed in, "That's right. We've been diehard fans of Tutu for 10 years. We've liked him since elementary school. We know all the news about him." Then the two of them began to talk nonstop. First of all, Tutu is really handsome. Even though he's almost 40 now, he still looks very young, and he has the added charm of a mature man. Moreover, Tutu is extremely serious about his career. His actions don't need dubbing, and his expressions are never off. He's truly a shining example in the entertainment industry. After listening to their endless praise for a while, she crossed her arms and said coldly, "Little sisters, maintaining one's looks just proves he has a lot of money to buy the most expensive skincare products. get treatments at the most high-end spas, hire the most famous makeup artists and photo editors, and learn more about East Asian sorcery. Furthermore, in this day and age, that kind of professionalism can be trained through daily practice. The entertainment industry decades ago had countless actors who were serious about their craft. There's nothing special about it. Hearing by Chu-Wei's words, which were colder than ice, one of the female students pouted angrily. What's with your tone? Even if Tutu edits his photos, he's still better than a ton of pretty boy actors who have no respect for their profession. The other one was no less agitated. Also, there were many dedicated actors decades ago, but the entertainment industry was also very chaotic. I bet no one has a private life as clean as Tutu's. It's to find the original owner of that name. Tutu even publicly said he would wait for that girl for 20 years, and only after the full 20 years would he consider marriage. Then the two of them hugged each other and cried a river. Who on earth could be so cold-hearted as to treat our Tutu like that? My heart hurts so much. Meanwhile, the person they were talking about was standing right in front of them. Bai Chu-Wei's face was now blacker than the bottom of a pot. She thought with disgust, he hasn't even mentioned imprisoning me back then, and now he's putting on a show of being a deeply devoted lover. Duan Xiuqi, very clever. Then she looked at the people putting on a show and said plainly, your illness is not a light one either. The person he's waiting for left anyway, which proves she had no feelings for him at all. He's just being overly sentimental on his own. What's this about waiting 20 years? Does a girl need him to wait? It's all a self-directed drama. After hearing those sharp words, the two girls shouted angrily, I get it. This bitch must be an anti-fan of Tutu. The person next to her chimed in, that's right. Why didn't she choose the Maoan V20? I think she just can't afford it, so she's making excuses. At this, the person in front of them pointed to the price list behind her and said calmly, I'm just telling the truth. Besides, between the Maoan 10 Pro and the Maoan V20, which one is more expensive? I think anyone with eyes can see, right? The other two said angrily, but before they could finish, another voice came from behind. It was them who were harassing my friend. Please escort them out. At the same time, Duan Feihan arrived with a security guard. Seeing the newcomer, the two girls' faces turned pale. As they were being dragged away, they continued to shout, hey, we weren't harassing her. We were just defending Tutu's reputation. Let me go. But Bai Chu-Wei just watched the scene before her. Without a word, after a moment, she turned to the man beside her and said, I was wondering why Mr. Duan was taking so long to park the car. So you want to call security. It's just that your methods don't seem very CEO-like. Hearing that, he hesitated slightly before replying, knowing the law is the duty of every citizen. Hearing that, she couldn't help but laugh. She thought to herself, ha ha ha, the great villain from the original novel also knows and understands the law. The man beside her had a puzzled frown. Is something funny? A moment later, the sales guide spoke up. Miss, the phone you wanted and the store's complimentary gift are all ready. At this, Bai Chu-Wei replied politely, okay, I'll take this one. Thank you. Then, the sound of a camera shutter clicked from the new phone. She said excitedly, it really is a new model, no lag at all. She then took a few more pictures. The photos from the regular camera aren't bad at all. Duan Feihan stood behind her, arms crossed, watching her play around. His gaze unconsciously softened as he thought, actually, the real person isn't bad either. After a while of shopping, the car stopped in front of the Bai residence. As soon as the car stopped, she took out a small cup and handed it to the person beside her, saying, Mr. Duan, thank you for the phone. Consider this cup a return gift from me. Hearing this, the other person frowned slightly in confusion. Thank you. So, can Miss Bai give me her contact information now? As he finished speaking, his gaze fell on the cup, and he thought to himself, if I remember correctly, this is the complimentary gift cup that came with the phone. At this, Bai Chu-Wei nodded casually and said, of course, Mr. Duan, actually your old master once offended me. I originally didn't want to save him, but out of respect for you, I will. But at this point, she moved closer, one hand lightly touching his chin as she continued suggestively. Don't forget the agreement between us. As soon as Bai Chu-Wei stepped into the house, Bai Yining came out to start trouble. I was on the balcony just now and saw you coming back at a Rolls-Royce. Whose car is that? Hearing the questioning, she just replied calmly, what's it to you? Do you think your grandfather would dare to speak to me like that? At this, the person behind her became so angry her face turned dark as she shouted, my grandfather has been bewitched by you. I thought since you came from the countryside, you'd be simple and honest, but who knew you'd go around clinging to rich men? you're making. Before she could finish, Snowball had silently climbed on her foot. Feeling the unusual sensation below, she was scared out of her wits. When she looked down, she let out a piercing scream. Then she jumped around like a Viennese waltz, screaming, "A rat. Such a fat rat. Get out of here now." The scene was witnessed by Bai Guofu. After a while of Bai Yinin's commotion, Snowball returned to her arms. As for the other person, Bai Guofu, with a stern face, shouted at her, "Yinin, the old ancestor is in our house right now. Don't you know how to behave? You're disgracing the daughters of the Bai family. Who allowed you to climb on the dining table? Get down now." At this, she cowered in fear and replied, "Woo-woo, I know." Meanwhile, Bai Chu Wei and Snowball secretly high-fived in celebration. She even praised him generously. "Oh, you clever little thing." As soon as she got back to her room, it jumped onto the table and spoke in a cheerful voice. "Old ancestor, you handled that beautifully today." But the person behind it reminded her with some annoyance. "Don't interrupt. I told you to take inventory of my assets in this world today. How'd it go? Are you done yet?" Hearing about the assigned task, Snowball reported excitedly. "Of course, it's all done. Old ancestors' accumulated assets over 5,000 years surpass the world's richest family many times over. Also, I discovered that the Tong family in Haicheng has owed you money for 10 years and still hasn't paid." Hearing this, she was surprised and let out a soft sound. "Oh," and she mentally tallied it up. "That year, I saved Chimehua, invested a sum of money, and we agreed that if her business prospered, she would pay me back 100 or 1,000 times over. So every year, she deposited 30 million into my account. However, Chun Meihua passed away 10 years ago, and the Tong family acted as if nothing had happened. Thinking about it, she quietly mumbled her calculations. 10 years is 300 million. It's a pity that our female lead, Tong Qingyan, wants to stiff me for that amount." Snowball also found it hard to understand after hearing this. A moment later, she gently touched it and instructed, "Send a letter to the Tong family for me. Within 1 month, they must transfer the full 400 million to me. The extra 100 million is interest. It's not that easy to owe me money. If they don't pay, they'll have to bear the consequences themselves." After hearing this, it accepted the order and replied enthusiastically, "No problem. I'll send it right away. I love watching you do loan sharking." Then, its small mouse paws quickly tapped on the phone screen, making a steady clicking sound. Seeing that frantic scene, made by Chu Wei sigh helplessly. "Don't people like this get tired? Oh, the white fox I raised 10 years ago has learned how to transform." Suddenly, her eyes grew melancholic, but later, before she could finish, she was interrupted by Snowball. "I won't transform. I want to stay with old ancestor for my whole life." Hearing that, the two of them rushed into each other's arms and cried their eyes out. Snowball, old ancestor. But then, the person opposite her made an extremely sharp turn. While pinching its cheek, she said with a stern face, "This is not a reason for you to slack off on your training." The force made it yelp. Don't pull anymore. After you finish writing the letter, hurry up and print it, then get an express delivery envelope." Hearing that, she also let it go to finish the task. Finally, she slowly signed the name Bai Chu on the paper. After finishing, Bai Chu Wei looked at the letter in her hand and said excitedly, "I'm very curious what the Tong family will feel when they receive a 400 million bill." At the Tong residence, a loud shout could be heard, even from outside. "What the hell is a 400 million bill? This is ridiculous. Is this bill a joke or blackmail?" The chubby man kept making wild guesses, but the person who seemed to be the eldest of the Tong family read it carefully and then spoke up. "Bai Chu, this is the name Meihua transferred money to every year when she was alive. It's probably some poor student she sponsored." Looking closely at the debt notice, Tong Wenru spoke up in astonishment. "You said the person who wrote the letter is named Bai Chu? The woman Xiozha is always looking for is also named Bai Chu. Tong Wenru, Duan Xiozha's fiancé, Tong Qingyan's aunt." Hearing this, she also said suspiciously, "Could they be the same person?" At this moment, her expression looked extremely ugly. She thought to herself, "Damn it, today is really unlucky." First, there was Lu Zhen. She recalled that time, constantly thanking old Lu. "I heard that old Duan's condition has improved greatly. Thank you for treating the old sir. I hope he can attend our wedding in the future." Remembering this, she thought angrily, "His medical skills are clearly garbage, yet he refuses to admit it, making me lose face in front of the Duan family." Then Tong Wenru was immediately slapped in the face by Duan Jingye's words. "Aunt, what are you talking about? That old Lu's needles nearly killed Grandpa. Fortunately, thanks Thanks to the divine Dr. Wei Wei that my fourth uncle and I found, we were able to turn the situation around. Realizing she had been exposed, she spoke with great embarrassment. Here, at this moment, she began to feel restless. Now Bai Chu, who had been missing for 20 years, has suddenly appeared. Could it be that the love between me and Xiuzhe is going to face such obstacles? On the other side, Tong Qingyan pretended to play the innocent role and gently criticized. Grandpa, Grandma, this Bai Chu is really greedy. Grandma helped her, but instead of being grateful, she's trying to extort us. Everyone, think about it. Could it be that because she knows Aunt Wenru is about to marry Uncle Duan Xiuzhe, she wants to squeeze out of some money? Hearing these words, Tong Qingyan's father immediately straightened up and shouted, "Right, Qingyan is absolutely right. That must be it. 400 million is a large sum for our family, but for the Duan family, it's just a drop in the ocean." On this side, Tong Wenru also frowned and affirmed, "I knew all along she was targeting Xiuzhe." Then Qingyan slowly walked over and said, "Dad, give me the bill." As soon as she took the paper, she tore it to shreds with her hands. Then, with a triumphant look in her eyes, she continued, "Our Tong family has a large business, and in the future, we'll have the Duan family support. I'd like to see how this Bai Chu will make us bear the consequences." The people around them immediately applauded in approval. "Ha ha, Qingyan did a great job. That's right. Dares to send a bill, but doesn't dare to show up. That Bai Chu is ridiculous." But they didn't know that everything that had just happened was reflected in a mirror. Bai Chu Wei had witnessed it all. Snowball, beside her, asked fiercely, "It seems they're not taking the bill seriously." Hearing that, she just said calmly, "They'll find out in a month." But they did remind me of something. As she spoke, she dialed a number. As soon as the call connected, the other end picked up immediately. "Old ancestor, you're up early?" She replied flatly from her end, "Yeah. MO1 is an asset under your name, right? Cancel Duan Xiuzhe's main resource for me. I find him an eyesore. It's getting cold. Let Duan Xiuzhe feel the cold too." Suddenly, at that moment, Bai Chu Wei received a message notification. She opened her phone to check and saw a line of text displayed on the screen. She wondered to herself, isn't this our original story's hero, the central air conditioner? So it's the middle of the night and he's still busy spreading his warmth? At this time, the content of the message sent to her became clear. "Classmate Bai, I'm the class president of Class 9 and also the math representative. If you need help, you can come to me. After all, you just transferred to Class 9, so you still need to adapt. But the math homework assigned by teacher Zhou Feng must be completed. He will do a surprise check early tomorrow morning." At the same time, Su Jingshan also received a message from your old ancestor. "Zhou Feng can't come to school tomorrow. No need to do the homework." After reading the message, his face twisted as he thought to himself, is this Bai Chu Wei overthinking things? Teacher Zhou Feng has always been very dedicated to his profession, unstoppable by wind or rain. How could he not come to school? Just as he finished his thought, a series of rapid notifications rang out, startling him so much he almost dropped his phone. What's happening? He quickly checked and saw a message from the head teacher. "To all students of Class 9, Teacher Zhou Feng suddenly fainted today. Starting tomorrow, he will temporarily be at home recovering. Tomorrow, all students will have a self-study session." The students in the group chat immediately started discussing. "So is Teacher Zhou okay? Teacher Zhou must get well soon. Okay?" There's also a student who joyfully messaged, "No more homework," then quickly corrected that it was sent by mistake. At this moment, Su Jingshan thought in horror. So, she was right? This must be just a blind dog catching a fly. In another place, a door opened accompanied by a voice. "All right, it's been quite a while." The woman below saw the person coming out and immediately announced, "Miss Chu Wei, someone is here to see you." Hearing that, she just replied flatly, "I know. Help me show the guest up here." "Teacher Zhou, you're here." In front of her, now, stood Zhou Feng. His brows were knitted together in extreme confusion. Seeing this, Bai Chu Wei spoke first. "I told you, you would definitely have to come find me." It seemed to be the last straw. He grabbed the hand of the person in front of him and begged, "Classmate Bai, you are a divine doctor. I really have breast cancer. The doctor said it's in the final stage and surgery would be very dangerous. But if I don't have surgery, I'm afraid I will." At this point, he couldn't speak anymore and asked directly, can you save me? I'm still so young. My students still need me to teach them. After listening, she just smiled and affirmed, of course I can. What a good teacher, always thinking of his students. Sit down, lift up your shirt. I'll just give you a few acupuncture needles. He didn't hesitate and immediately did as he was told. 10 minutes later, more than a dozen needles have been inserted into Zhou Feng's body. Looking at this scene, he asked anxiously, classmate Bai, you are a divine doctor. Student Bai, so many needles have been inserted already. The person opposite him, holding a few more needles, said slowly, the last few needles were just to unblock the congested and stagnant blood vessels. I'll give you 2 more pills. Rest at home for another week. After that, you can come to class. After hearing this, his face turned pale as he lamented, I still have to rest for another week? What about my students who need to review? They're in their 3rd year of high school. We can't afford any delays. Seeing this, Bai Chui's face suddenly darkened, and she said gloomily, if you want to die, I won't stop you. Teacher Zhou heard this and was immediately scared, shrinking back and replying, Okay, my life is the top priority. Student Bai, when I get home, I'll prepare study materials for you to help you improve your grades. But as soon as the words were out, the person opposite him refused. That won't be necessary. Long after everything was done, she watched Zhou Feng's car drive away. She thought to herself, Zhou Feng's matter is settled then. Next is the prescription for the Duan family. Alright, I remember that the Duan family seems to be under the leadership of Duan Fan. They had to surpass the 8 great families to develop into a new prestigious family. Haha, today is a good day to see just how much money the Duan family has. Then she gave a mysterious smile. Haha. Snowball, opposite her, saw this and thought to itself, Tisk, whenever the ancestor smiles like that, she's definitely going to trick someone. Over here, Duan Fan was working when he heard a message notification and glanced over. He smiled when he saw the name of the sender. It's her. Bai Chui sent a message with instructions, Mr. Duan, I've finished writing the prescription. Pick me up after school tomorrow. We'll go buy the medicine together. After reading it, he quickly replied, Okay, Miss Bai, thank you for your hard work. At this, she paused for a moment before replying, It's no trouble. See you tomorrow then, followed by a sticker. But when the conversation ended, it left Duan Fan feeling a bit disappointed. He actually wanted to talk a little longer. Then he looked at the pile of books on his desk. How to Teach Your Desk to Talk. People who know how to talk are smart. The Art of Language. It made him unable to help but sigh. The next morning at school, Bai Yining was sitting in the cafeteria with a murderous look on her face. Damn it, Grandpa actually starved me for a whole night. It's all because of Bai Chu and her damn mouse. Suddenly, a voice called out, Yining, is that you? It really is you. Don't you usually never eat breakfast in the school cafeteria? Another girl, along with 2 of her friends, walked over. At a glance, they didn't look very well behaved. She looked over at the other person and frowned, thinking, dang man, I remember she has a few tricks up her sleeve for dealing with people. Maybe I can make use of one. No sooner said than done. She put on a pitiful act, don't mention it. I haven't eaten since last night. A foster daughter named Bai Chu showed up at my house, and Grandpa is always punishing me because of her. Hearing this, the girl named Dang Man said in surprise, Bai Chu is that the girl who seduced Duan Jingye and Su Jingchen as soon as she arrived? The other 2 girls were also stunned in gossip. The forum says she even bragged that the famous poem Mountain Travels was written by her. Hilarious. How old does she think she is this year? Then they all looked resentfully at Bai Yining and said confidently, Yining, don't worry. We'll definitely help you teach her a lesson. Hearing this, the person opposite them continued to play the weak role and replied, then thank you, everyone. Half an hour later, a voice was heard inside the classroom. Classmate Chu this is the uniform you ordered. I helped bring it back for you. Try it on and see if the size fits. Bai Chu took it with a word of thanks, not forgetting to say, thanks, I'll go try it on right now. As soon as she entered the changing room, Dang Man's group, who had been hiding behind, observed the opportunity has come. Inside the restroom, she kept hearing suspicious noises, as well as the sound of footsteps pacing back and forth. It made her shout in annoyance. What are you trying to do? Outside, Dang Man blocked the door with a mop and said smugly, Bai Chu just because you have some looks, you think you can seduce Duan Jingye and Su Jingchen. Let's teach her a little lesson. Let her smell the restroom. The next class for class 9 is literature, right? Yesterday, she cursed at Teacher Lee, saying he was sick. This time, there's a good show to watch. After tying the mop to the door, they left confidently, not forgetting to be triumphant. Inside, by Chu Wei smiled helplessly, just locking a door, and they think they can bully me? These kids are too naive. Suddenly, she took out a heel pad from her uniform pocket along with a note. The person trying it on said, "This is..." Inside the note were words of advice from Su Jingchen. "Classmate Chu Wei, new shoes might chafe your heels. Remember to stick on the heel pads." Su Jingchen, after reading it, she commented coldly, "He's really thoughtful." No wonder in the original story, the original owner loved Su Jingchen so much she constantly fought with Tong Qingyan. For the sake of his image, he has to force himself even if he doesn't like it. Living such a fake life, doesn't Su Jingchen get tired? The more I look, the more I find the male supporting character Duan Jingyan more relaxed. Alright, after changing, it's time to find those female students from earlier to settle the score. With that thought, she unhesitatingly threw both items in her hand into the trash. In the classroom, a male student yawned and looked out the window. Yawn, is this another self-study period? It's so boring. At the same time, a figure walked in from outside. "Hello, may I ask if there's anyone named Dang Man in this class?" The boys were captivated by her extraordinary beauty. They took turns answering, "Yes, yes, she's sitting in the back." Hearing this, she smiled brightly and replied, "Thank you." Then she quickly walked towards the back, ignoring the gossip of the male students. "Oh my God, am I seeing a fairy? This appearance and aura are way better than our class beauty." At the same time, Tong Qingyan, sitting there, heard all the comparisons and her expression darkened even more. While she calmly walked to the back of the class, Dang Man's group was terrified. Her mind was filled with doubt. What the hell? We don't even know each other. How on earth did this by Chu Wei find her way here? And also, how did she get out? Then she glared and stood up, shouting, "Classmate by Chu Wei, this is class 11. Class is about to start. Please return to your own classroom." Hearing this, the person in front of her just replied slowly, "No rush. I'll go back to my class after you apologize." Dang Man was scared by now, but still stubborn. "Apologize? Don't you try to frame us here. What do we do? Do you have any proof?" Hearing that, she immediately stepped closer, but was blocked by Tong Qingyan. Then she quickly spoke up, "Classmate by, I'm Tong Qingyan, the class president of class 11. About classmate Dang Man's matter." But before she could finish, the person opposite her smiled and interrupted, "Miss Tong, don't meddle in things that don't concern you. If you're so free, you could be earning money to pay off your debts." Hearing this, the other students started whispering among themselves. Although the Tong family isn't a top-tier prestigious family, they are still wealthy. Their family owes money? Is that for real? My dad's company cooperates with the Tong family. Should I reconsider? The Tong family owes money. This is big news. I have to tell my brother. As for her, she was stunned, her face filled with fear. Then she tried to hold back her tears and spoke weak. "Classmate Bai, why would you make up something like that? When did my family ever owe money?" But Bai Chu Wei wasn't flustered and just asked back nonchalantly, "Miss Tong, you tell me." Seeing this demeanor, her heart pounded with even more fear. Could she be referring to that ridiculous 400 million bill from last night? But how does that count as a debt? How does Bai Chu Wei know? But the person in front of her ignored Tong Qingyan and looked at Dang Man, continuing, "As for you, you were the one who led people to lock me in the restroom, weren't you? Or do you want to keep arguing?" Hearing herself being called out, Dang Man still tried to argue. "How did you know I locked you in the restroom? Could it be that classmate Bai can see through walls? See the people outside the restroom." At the same time, Tong Qingyan also chimed in, "Classmate Bai, Dang Man is right. If you were locked in the restroom, how could you have seen their faces? I hope you're not." Before she could finish her sentence, Bai Chu Wei snapped her fingers and interrupted, "You don't believe me? Then let them say it themselves." Immediately, Dang Man's group couldn't control their bodies and blurted out the entire incident. Bai Chu Wei is relying on her looks to seduce Duan Jingye and Su Jingchen. Let's teach her a lesson. Let her smell the inside of the restroom. The next class for class 9 is literature, right? Yesterday, she even cursed teacher Lee, saying she was sick. This time, there's a good show to watch. As soon as the words were out, she continued smugly, "Class President Tong, did you hear that? You tell me, do I still need to apologize to them now?" As for Tong Qingyan, she looked at the 3 people behind her, scared out of her wits. They were still in a panic. Why did we just... As for her, she clenched her fists, turned, and walked away, her heart burning with rage. So they really did do it, and even admitted it in front of everyone. What the hell? Dang man, seeing this from behind, was worried. But then she still said defiantly, "It was just a little joke in the restroom. You're being too serious. Can't you take a joke?" Seeing them twist the truth, she frowned and shouted, "A joke is when both sides are laughing. That's a joke." The students in the class also voiced their agreement. Classmate Bai is right. One-sided fun is just bullying. That's right. Besides, this isn't the first time Dang Man has done something like this. Suddenly, a powerful voice boomed from behind. Who was it? Who tied a mop to the door of the girls' restroom? Hearing that voice, those present were stunned. A plump woman walked in, radiating a murderous aura. It's Director Huang, the director of grade 12. The people in the class whispered at this moment. I heard that Director Huang's stomach isn't good. She often has diarrhea. Could it be that she couldn't hold it in? That's highly likely. I remember that some of the restrooms are being repaired today. There was only one left, but it was locked by Dang Man. The more she heard, the more furious she became, shouting, "If no one dares to admit it, I'll go check the cameras. Don't blame me then." Hearing this, Dang Man's group thought in fear. Director Huang said the restroom is still locked? Then how did she get out? Oh my god, is this by Chu Wei a demon? At this moment, she kindly turned back to look at them and reminded them, "Why don't you apologize and confess quickly? If you delay any longer, your consequences will be even more miserable." After hearing this, the three of them quickly bowed sincerely. "We're sorry." Director Huang, seeing the culprits, her anger flared as she scolded, "Dang man, why is it you guys again? Before the evening self-study session tonight, submit a 3,000-word self-criticism essay to me. Not a single word can be missing." The people in front of her bowed their heads and quickly replied, "Yes, yes." By Chu Wei, who had been watching the show from the side, her expression also turned gloomy as she asked the person sitting next to her, "This matter could be considered satisfactorily resolved. Don't you think so?" Inin. Bai Inin heard this and was terrified, her body trembling uncontrollably as she thought, "She knows everything. She definitely knows everything." This wasn't about teaching Dang Man and her group a lesson. It was about killing a chicken to scare the monkeys, to warn me. At the same time, the phone screen captured the moment she leaned on by Inin's desk. Tong Qingyan, outside, quickly took a picture, then thought while typing on her phone, "Aunt said that men all like gentle, sweet, and obedient girls." Just now, Bai Chu Wei bullied her classmates like that. If Fourth Master knew about this. With that thought, she quickly sent a message to Duan Fan, "Fourth Master, I ran into a classmate Bai at school. It seems someone played a little joke on her, which made her angry." Angry classmate Bai is really scary. That classmate is so pitiful. After scolding Dang Man's group for a while, Director Huang came out. She looked at Bai Chu Wei, patted her shoulder, and asked, "Which class are you in, student? Hurry back to class. The first period has already started." Hearing this, she looked over and silently sized up the teacher in front of her. This teacher is also a good person, and she sort of helped me out today. Then she smiled and handed over a small vial. "Director Huang, this is for you. When your stomach is upset, drink it directly. I'm heading back to class 9 for class now." After she left, the woman slowly opened the vial to take a look, then smiled gently. Honestly, already a 12th grade student and still acting like a child, carrying candy around to eat. Over here, as soon as she entered the classroom from the back door, she heard a scolding voice. "Poor academic performance, a hindrance, and now skipping class. You've got some nerve, haven't you?" Teacher Lee stood on the podium, her anger flaring as if she wanted to rush down to where she was. But at this moment, the person below just smiled and said, "Teacher Lee, I think my academic performance is very good. Besides, if I were skipping class, then you probably wouldn't see me appearing in class right now." Hearing this, the other person glared at her and shouted, "You." But before she could finish, Jingya, at this moment, also spoke up for her. "That's right, at most it's being late. Teacher Lee, Wei Wei just came to Hung Hua High School, so she might have gotten lost. That's why she was late." Saying that, he looked at Su Jingchun and signaled, "Jingchun, emergency rescue." It made him reluctantly raise his hand and speak up. "That's right, Teacher Lee. Classmate Bai Chu Wei is a transfer student, so please give her some time to adapt." Seeing the two of them defending Bai Chu Wei made the female students in the class look at her with resentment, silently cursing this fox spirit. Duan Jingya and Su Jingchen spoke up for her at the same time. Teacher Lee, at this moment, angrily took a test paper and handed it to her. "Fine. I hope classmate Bai Wei can take a good look at her literature test. If you get a score like this again next time, you're invited to leave the top student's class 9. Bai Chue took the paper, thinking to herself, I wrote my literature test based on facts. How could the score be that low? A second later, her eyes widened as she looked at her paper, which was completely crossed out and even had the teacher's comment all wrong. Have you ever even studied literature? An elementary school student could answer better than you. At this moment, her body trembled with anger. Ugh, her deskmate saw this and, frightened, quickly comforted her. Wei Wei, look on the bright side. Your handwriting is actually very beautiful. Hearing these words made her mood even worse. She cracked her knuckles, looked at him, and said through gritted teeth, Duan Jingye, what you mean is the only thing decent about my entire literature test is the handwriting. Is that it? The murderous aura was darker than black and white. The boy quickly waved his hands. No, I wouldn't dare. But she ignored the person next to her and hurriedly opened the test to check. Humph. I like to see for myself. Just where did I go wrong? Question. Based on the scenery described in the entire poem, please analyze the author's thoughts at the time of writing. She faintly recalled the scene at that time. Actually, there really wasn't any deep meaning. Oldly that day was just drunk and wrote a few lines. Color. Next question. In chapter 15 of the Mountain Moon Chronicle, at the banquet in the sky of the mountain and sea, the moon consort wore a long white outer dress with a white stone embroidered border. Please analyze why the author arranged for the moon consort to dress this way, and analyze the hidden meaning within. By So Vi, as the original author, honestly said, there's no special meaning. This name is common. I just wrote it casually to trick them into paying the manuscript fee. At the same time, the person next to her, speechless at her answers, was forced to speak up. Vivi, what kind of answers are these? How can you get any points? The standard answer to this question is clearly, the banquet in the sky of the mountain and sea is a climactic plot point in the book. The author used the literary method of foreshadowing. The moon consort dressing this way expressed her desolate mood. It also hints at her future fate. Hearing what Jingye described made her freeze. Then, he quickly handed over a book and continued. Vivi, the classic Mountain Moon Chronicle, is a famous text on the list for the graduation literature exam. You must study it carefully. If you learn the test-taking techniques, your grades will definitely improve. Holding the book, she could only bury her face on the desk, screaming internally. Ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Why do I have to carefully study the unfinished novel? I wrote. Over here in the meeting room, Duan Fei Han spoke coolly. All right, everyone, that's all for today's meeting. You may all leave first. After speaking, he picked up the water bottle she gave him and took a drink. The people present stared in shock at the water bottle, at its cute pattern. They were frozen for a few seconds. Seeing that the people still hadn't left, he frowned and asked, Are you all not leaving yet? Immediately, they stood up awkwardly. Our apologies, we're leaving right away. The group dispersed, but they all shared the same thought. Why is CEO Duan using a cartoon water bottle? Today? Has he been possessed by someone? I'm so scared. But the person who caused the shock was calmly looking at his phone, smiling as he thought, there probably aren't any other urgent matters today. I can go buy medicine with her without any worries. As soon as he opened his messages, his eyes fell on a text from Tong Qingyan. Fourth master, I ran into a classmate by at school. It seemed someone was teasing her and made her angry. After reading it, Duan Fei Han frowned and thought, Tong Qingyan, what is she looking for me for again? Wait, this classmate by means her? Then his eyes filled with killing intent. He coolly typed out a reply. I know. Thank you for telling me. Over on her side, she was overjoyed upon receiving the message. She thought smugly to herself, this is great. The fourth master now knows you're a wicked woman who bullies her classmates. Classmate Bai, don't even think about pretending to be weak to capture the fourth master's heart anymore. The school bell rang. Jingye said helplessly to the person beside him, Vivi, you have to respect historical figures. But the constantly vibrating phone had already caught Bai So Vi's attention. She still replied slowly, I do respect them. We have a very good relationship. Just as she finished speaking, a call from Tang Monk's flesh popped up. She stared at the phone for a moment, bewildered, and wondered, Duan Fei Han, why is he looking for me so early in the morning? Then she quickly answered the call. Mr. Duan, why are you calling me at this very moment? Could it be that you're afraid I'll suddenly change my mind and not want to buy medicine with you anymore? Hearing this, he was startled and looked over in shock. Duan. At the same time, a deep, warm voice came from the phone. Miss Bai, I know everything that happened at your school today. Whether it's about your studies or or your life. If you need anything, I can help you. Hearing this, she froze, her brain spinning hard. What was he talking about? Could he be referring to the minor conflict between me and Dangman's group? Then she smiled teasingly. You're such a good person, Mr. Duan. So enthusiastic about helping others, aren't you? Thank you for your concern, but I've already handled the matter on my end. At this moment, Duan Feihan looked at the bottle she gave him, smiled, and replied, That's good then. Let's meet after school. The call ended. Bai So Vai's heart was filled with joy as she thought. The original boss before he turned evil is a polite and complete opposite, a soft gummy bear. Nice. But Jing Ye was bewildered, seemingly unable to believe what he had just heard. Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. He actually took the initiative to care about someone else. Is this still my emotionally distant fourth uncle? A few hours later, Bai So Vai was sitting in the classroom, engrossed in her phone, when a familiar voice suddenly called out, Classmate Bai, I finally found you. Hearing her name called, she dazedly took off her earphones and looked up. At this moment, the students in the class began to whisper among themselves. Director Huang, the other person's face was dark and gloomy, which made the people around even more confused. Oh crap, what's going on? Is Director Huang raiding the self-study session? Bai So Vai is dead for sure. She's definitely going to get her earphones confiscated. At the same time, she dazedly wondered, out of the blue, why did she suddenly come looking for me? Let me do some calculations. Returning to a few hours earlier in the office, Teacher Lee was holding the grade sheet, angrily scolding. This Bai So Vai studies are already a mess, and her attitude is so arrogant. Director Huang, why don't you transfer her to another class? Don't let her drag down class 12 to 9. The person opposite her heard this and slowly spoke up in defense. She just transferred here. Give her some time to adapt. Cool me, cool me, cool me. This is the candy she gave me. Teacher Lee, eat one to cool down. At this moment, she was furious and thought with contempt. She doesn't focus on her studies, only knows how to suck up to teachers with candy. However, she still put it in her mouth to eat. After eating it, her feelings immediately changed. This candy is actually really delicious. I feel like my stomach is much more comfortable and at ease after eating it. At this moment, a male teacher rushed over, took the candy jar with a look of bewilderment, and asked, Wait, Teacher Lee, where did you get the thing in your hand? Hearing this, Teacher Lee also frowned and asked dazedly, Teacher Zhao, what's wrong with this candy? Could it be from some famous brand? The other person hurriedly explained, The technique of this candy jar is the same as a lost refining technique from several hundred years ago. My God, I've only seen it in books. Hearing this, the people in the teacher's office immediately started chattering. No way. Is this a reproduction? The taste is also not like ordinary candy. It does have a distinct medicinal fragrance. Teacher Zhao hurriedly pulled out his phone, taking pictures as he spoke. A reproduction? No one understands this technique. It's impossible to reproduce. I have to take a picture and send it to my grandfather. He's an expert. He definitely won't be mistaken. At the same time, someone appeared at the door and asked softly, Hello, may I ask, is Director Huang here? I am Teacher Zhou Feng's wife. I came to help him organize some documents. The person inside heard this and said enthusiastically, So it's sister-in-law. How is Teacher Zhou Feng? Another male teacher quickly added, That's right, this illness probably takes several years to treat. If you have any difficulties, just let us know. Zhou Feng's wife heard this and just smiled in reply. No. My husband's illness is cured. After hearing these words, the two people opposite her were startled and shocked. Wasn't it terminal cancer? How did it get cured so quickly? The person opposite them heard this and also stammered. It was originally like that, but last night classmate Bai So Vai gave him acupuncture and also gave him some spirit medicine. After taking it, there was an immediate improvement. The doctors all said it was a medical miracle. Now, bewildered chatter rang out. First, she discovered Teacher Zhou's illness, and now she's even cured it. Could she be a divine doctor? At the same time, Director Huang suddenly recalled the image of Bai So Vai, feeling doubtful in her heart. Was that really medicine? I've been tormented by diarrhea for several years now. The doctors couldn't cure it either. If this medicine can cure it, then this is the greatest hope of my life. Thinking this, she quickly snatched the medicine jar back. But when she checked, she asked in a loud voice, Why are there only 3 pieces left? Hearing this, Teacher Lee hesitated and replied, But before she could finish, she was cut off by the person in front of her. Teacher Lee, didn't I just give you one to try? Why did you eat them all? Are you that gluttonous? How can you eat so much medicine? Hearing this, she said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, Suddenly, a strange feeling appeared. She frowned and stammered, Wait a minute, why does my stomach suddenly hurt? It hurts. Then she rushed off. The restroom? Where's the restroom? She ignored the bewildered gazes of her colleagues. As for Director Huang, she sighed in frustration. I'll just have to shamelessly go find her. At this moment, So Vi, who was doing her calculations, also understood everything. She thought to herself, so that's how it is. Li Guin is in for it this time. Anyone who isn't sick and takes it will suffer from vomiting and diarrhea. The person opposite her now spoke awkwardly. Student Bai, the candy you gave me this morning. Oh no, the medicine, is there any left? Before the other person could finish speaking, she pulled out a jar of medicine. She smiled and reminded, Director Huang, you have to keep it safe this time. The person opposite her heard this and nodded frantically. I'll keep it safe. Then she handed over a stack of papers. Oh right, this is the math material teacher Zhou Feng's wife brought. She asked me to give it to you, said that teacher Zhou worked on it for several days straight. Take it. Then she left, not forgetting to encourage. You have to study hard. She looked at the stack of papers on the desk. Her face contorted as she thought. I really don't need it. I don't like studying in the first place. The other students, after witnessing the whole thing, thought in bewilderment. Holy crap, what did So Vi give Director Huang that made her so happy she forgot to confiscate her earphones? Are you kidding me? Is this really Demon Huang? At this moment, a male student angrily rushed to report. Director Huang, classmate So Vi, was wearing earphones during self-study. Why didn't you confiscate them? Hearing this, the person opposite turned her head with a gloomy expression. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. And you too, hand over all your phones and game consoles now. Don't think I didn't see you just now. Being caught, those students cried out in dissatisfaction. Double standards. Why didn't you take So Vi's? You're being too biased. At this moment, she also paid attention. Then opened her phone and turned on the speaker. A voice came from inside, abandoned. Then she slowly explained, I'm practicing my listening. The dissatisfied people were now bewildered. Crap, what a strange way to practice listening. After a while, Jingye returned. He asked dazedly, Vivi, where did she go? Isn't she attending this self-study session? So Vi packed up all her books, walked past him, and replied calmly, Silly, I have a date with your fourth uncle tonight. Of course I have to skip class. The silly boy's face turned pale upon hearing this. Fourth uncle, a date? But he didn't notice a pair of hostile eyes staring intently at his back. After school, as So Vi was slowly walking out of the school gate, a voice called out from behind, Classmate So Vi, please wait a moment. Hearing the call, she slowly turned her head and saw Su Jingshun running over. Seeing him, she said in surprise, Class President Su Jingshun, what's the matter? At this moment, he was panting, scratching his neck, and said shyly, Classmate is there something at school that you haven't been able to adapt to? Is that why you're not participating in the evening self-study? If you need anything, you can tell me. After hearing those words, she replied bluntly with a dazed face, It's not that I can't adapt. I want to go on a date. The answer left the person opposite her in complete shock. But seeing this, she continued playfully, Class President Su Jingshun, you're so concerned about me. Could it be that you like me? Hearing these words, the atmosphere around Su Jingshun immediately turned gloomy. He hurriedly waved his hands in protest. Classmate you've misunderstood. If you still have to go on a date, then I won't bother you anymore. He couldn't help but think to himself, although So Vi is very beautiful, who would want to find a girlfriend who is so uncontrollable? The person opposite him also nodded in agreement. Makes sense. The future male lead belongs to the female lead, so he's not in love with anyone now. After thinking, So Vi turned to leave, not forgetting to say, Class President Su, since you don't like me, then don't do things that cause misunderstandings. It's good to have a kind heart and help others, but be careful or it might backfire. Su Jingshun, standing behind her, was frozen by her words. He felt a heavy weight pressing down on him. Outside the gate, a black car was parked. When it saw the person coming out, it honked as a signal. Seeing this, she hurried over. The person I'm waiting for has arrived. Class President Su, goodbye. After saying that, she playfully stuck out her tongue to tease the other person. Then she went straight to the passenger seat and sat down. Once settled, she looked at the driver and said, Mr. Duan, thank you for coming to pick me up. Are you driving yourself today, too? But the reply was Duan Fei Han's deeply scowling face. That action made the person next to her stare. What are you looking at? Suddenly, she accidentally witnessed a clash of gazes between the two young men. The gazes between Su Jingxin and Duan Fei Han looked like a great battle was about to erupt. Seeing this scene, she thought to herself, as expected of the villain and the male lead. They can't stand the sight of each other before anything has even started. The person next to her thought unhappily, who is that boy? Why is he so close to Bai So Vi? Then he quickly changed the subject. Let's go. We're going to the spiritual herb pharmacy to buy medicine. After arriving, Bai So Vi expertly asked the owner, Owner, do you have any 100-year-old ginseng here? Sell me 10 caddies. These words left the other person dazed for a moment, thinking to himself, did I really run into a big spender this time? But even if this pair of lovebirds really has money, I don't have the goods. Then he rubbed his palms together and said awkwardly, Young lady, it's not that we're not in business, but 100-year-old wild ginseng isn't a turnip. We don't have 10 caddies here. How about you and your boyfriend wait a bit? Let me contact all the spiritual herb pharmacy shops to gather it. Hearing this, Bai So Vi took out a piece of paper. Since that's the case, take this list of medicinal herbs. Give me 10 caddies of each ingredient on this list. Seeing the person next to her looking at her dazedly again, he thought to himself, she didn't deny it at all when he said the word boyfriend. Then he smiled faintly with great interest. As for the person opposite him, his eyes were already swimming from medicinal herbs on the paper, his heart wailing incessantly. Oh my God, this prescription is full of incredibly precious medicinal herbs. If I get them according to this list, it would cost 1 or 2 billion. Seeing the other person silent, Duan Fei Han finally spoke. Just prepare it as she instructed. Money is not an issue. Hearing the assurance, he immediately said, All right, I'll go prepare it right away. I wish you two 100 years of happiness, forever and ever. After saying that, he turned around and went inside to report. Everyone, prepare the medicine immediately. A big customer has arrived. Over here, she heard those words, and her face contorted as she thought. 100 years of happiness, forever and ever. The owner must have misunderstood. Actually, she didn't hear the word boyfriend just now. Then she looked over at the big shot next to her and praised. As expected of the future villain, his face shows no emotion even when he's misunderstood. The people at the spiritual herb pharmacy were busy preparing a pile of medicine. Everyone was in a frantic hurry. As for her, she sat inside watching the scene, leisurely taking a sip of tea before speaking to the person next to her. Speaking of which, aren't you curious, Mr. Duan, about what medicine I prescribed, or why the medicine I prescribed is so expensive? Duan Fei Han, while fiddling with the prayer beads in his hand, slowly replied, Not curious. Miss Bai can spend my money however she wants. Hearing this, she suddenly leaned closer, her voice teasing, Mr. Duan trusts me so much. Aren't you afraid I'll prescribe some random medicine and harm your father? The other person's face flushed red. Their eyes met for a few seconds. Then he quickly turned away and replied coolly, I trust you. Suddenly, an image of him as a teenager appeared in her mind. His face also flushed red as he said, I want a hug. Let me hug you, big sis. This made her unable to resist evaluating him in her heart. Duan Fei Han has clearly grown up and become stable. So why is he still as clumsy as when he was a little bun? So adorable. Suddenly, Duan Fei Han called out Miss Bai. You. But before he could finish, he was cut off by the person next to him. You don't need to call me Miss Bai anymore. Hearing these words made his heart thump. He couldn't stop fantasizing. Is she allowing me to call her Vivi like Jingye does? But the other person's next words turned him to stone. Call me Big Sis from now on. After hearing this, his heart was in turmoil. Big Sis, an 18-year-old girl is asking me, a 24-year-old adult, to call her Big Sis. Does that make any sense? But Bai So Vi next to him didn't care, and instead felt a bit nostalgic in her heart. The chubby, fair-skinned kid used to call her that too. It's really nostalgic. While Duan Fei Han and Bai So Vi were face to face, the owner of the spiritual herb pharmacy rushed over in a panic, breaking the atmosphere. I'm sorry to interrupt your lovey-dovey moment, but something has come up. The Sealy Chun, the prescription, is only in stock at the largest Lu Jishan pharmacy in the spiritual herb district, but they refuse to sell it. Hearing this, he frowned and asked back, There's business to be done. but they won't do it. At the same time, someone pushed open the door from outside and entered, speaking in a triumphant voice, by So Vi. This medicine is specifically not for sale to you. Dang man entered from outside and slowly continued. Do you know why my Dang family, although not rich, is not to be trifled with by anyone in all of Honghua? Because my father is the disciple of the best medical master in China, Lu Zhan. Offending me is offending Master Lu, which is offending the entire medical world, and people can't avoid getting sick. Do you understand? Today you caused me to be punished with writing lines at school. Unless you cry and kneel to apologize, you absolutely have no chance of getting this Sealy-chan. Hearing this, she just let out a sarcastic laugh. Haha. I've lived for so long, and rarely has anyone dared to threaten me like you. Besides, who said I need that medicine? Then she turned to the person next to her and calmly introduced. This is Duan Jingye's fourth uncle, Mr. Duan Feihan. That Sealy-chun is to treat his father's illness. At this moment, his face wrinkled in displeasure. As for Dang Man, she panicked and thought to herself, I'm screwed. Fourth Master Duan is a famous figure in the business world, and I've accidentally gotten involved with him. Moreover, the actual situation was indeed like that. She immediately became submissive, forced a weak smile, and said that, Fourth Master Duan, what I said just now was all made up to scare by So Vi. Actually, the Sealy-chun can't be sold for another reason. At this point, she sighed. Her face turned pale, and she decided she should just tell the truth. Sealy-chun is too precious. My father and I can't make the decision. We need Master Lu's approval. Hearing this, So Vi raised an eyebrow. Master Lu, huh? If you hadn't mentioned him, I would have almost forgotten about him. He must have been having non-stop nightmares since last night, right? Hearing these words made Dang Man think in terror. It's true that Master Lu has been gloomy all day because of nightmares. But how could So Vi know? Without letting anyone refute, she calmly stood up and said, all right, let's go to the Lu family's pharmacy and see what this Lu Zhan is like. Duan Feihan next to her also stood up. He was even carrying her pink backpack. Then he couldn't help but ask curiously, Miss Bai, why is your school bag so light? Hearing this, the person opposite him replied nonchalantly, there's nothing in my bag except for the masterpiece that Duan Jingye fellow gave me. Of course it's light. Hearing this, a scent of jealousy seemed to emanate from him. He couldn't help but think only the book Jingye gave her. As for her, she looked at him dazedly and thought, why aren't we leaving yet? Over there, old Lu was lying on a bamboo chair, sunbathing, his expression extremely unpleasant. In his dream, his master was constantly chasing and scolding him. How dare you look down on the Grandmaster Ancestor? Today I'm taking you with me. Who allowed you to displease the Grandmaster Ancestor? He was terrified, crawling and wailing, Master, don't. I didn't know the Grandmaster Ancestor was a little girl. That's why I offended her. I've already been tied up for a day and a night. Please spare me. Suddenly, a loud voice from outside caught everyone's attention. So Vi, what are you doing? Master Lu is sleeping. You can't just barge in. Wait, CEO Duan, what are you doing with that basin of water? Are you crazy? That's Master Lu. As soon as the words fell, splash, a basin of water was thrown straight into old Lu's face. He shot up with a start and roared, Who splashed me? Hearing this, Dang Man immediately said fearfully, Master Lu, this has nothing to do with us. It was So Vi who told Fourth Master Duan to do it. Hearing that name made old Lu instantly freeze. Then he whipped his head around to look at the two people standing there. As for Dang Man, she was laughing secretly, waiting for him to tear So Vi to pieces. But the person who was mentioned was just casually fiddling with her hair. Just then, old Lu suddenly dropped to his knees. Grandmaster Ancestor, I was wrong. This disciple has eyes but failed to see Mount Tai. I have offended you. I was crazy. Please spare me. This left everyone present completely stunned. Hearing this, So Vi said calmly, all right, tonight I will let your master return. As for you, give me your confirmation now. Are you selling the Sealy-chun or not? Hearing this, he turned to Dang Man in a panic and questioned, selling or not selling what? She frantically replied, it's So Vi who wants to buy Sealy-chun, and she's asking for 10 caddies. Do you think we should sell it? Old Lu immediately roared. Sell? What sell? This made Dang man almost think he had really gone mad. But unexpectedly, right after that, he knelt down. He took Bai So-Vai's hand and said with utmost respect, "Something the Grandmaster Ancestor needs. How would a disciple dare to sell? However much you want, I will gift it to you." Hearing this left the person behind them just standing there, frozen. Huh. As for her, she just nodded slightly and instructed, "All right, you go prepare the goods. Also, tell the other pharmacies to gather everything and bring it to Lu Jishan later." He immediately nodded and replied, "Yes, little Lu will go right away. Grandmaster Ancestor can just wait at the door." It was late at night, but the Lu family's pharmacy was still brightly lit, busy gathering medicinal herbs. Bai So-Vai and Duan Fei Han walked over. She glanced around and said, "The Sealy Chun is free of charge, but the other pharmacies have to be paid. I've considered it, and it's not too expensive, only about 300 million. Hearing this, the person next to her looked over and asked, "Miss Bai, this medicine isn't actually for my father, is it?" But she didn't answer the main point and asked back, "Didn't I tell you to call me Big Sis? Are you unwilling?" Hearing this, he fell silent. Seeing this, she stopped joking and said seriously, all right, I won't tease you anymore. That medicine is indeed for me, but how did you guess?" Before she finished her sentence, Duan Fei Han had moved closer, the distance between them now only a hand's breadth, and said slowly, "So-Vai, there's a very faint medicinal scent on you." This startled her, and she stepped back, her eyes wide. She then gave a forced laugh and said, "Mr. Duan is very smart. I have indeed tricked you out of a considerable sum, betraying your trust. So, what do you plan to do next?" Hearing this, Duan Fei Han just chuckled and replied, "Have you forgotten, Miss Bai? You can spend my money however you want. Also, compared to calling you Big Sis, I still prefer to call you So-Vai. As for you, you can also call me by my name directly." After hearing this, Bai So-Vai was slightly surprised. Her eyes widened slightly as she looked at Duan Fei Han, as if wanting to confirm what she had just heard one more time. "Call you by your name." Well then, she paused for a moment as if considering, then slowly took 2 steps forward, leaning her body slightly. The corners of her lips curved into a wicked smile. She moved closer and called out ambiguously, "Han Han." The gentle sound brushed past his ear, surprising the person opposite her. He didn't expect her to be so bold, daring to tease him so directly. His face turned red bit by bit, not out of anger but out of embarrassment. He thought in a panic, Han, why does this nickname sound like you're calling a child under 5? His heart skipped a beat, feeling both flustered and unsure how to react. But a forgotten memory slowly resurfaced, as if from a great distance. A faint figure, a gentle and caring woman calling his name with that very sound. Wait, speaking of which, it seems someone had also called him that 20 years ago. That sweet sound called out, Han Han. In that memory were sunny afternoons and a soft embrace holding him. Duan Fei's eyes narrowed in suspicion now. It's just that after so many years, he could no longer remember her face. The figure faded and then vanished, making one want to hold on to it even more, but to no avail. Seeing the person opposite her in a daze, unresponsive, she snapped her fingers in front of his face, calling out repeatedly, Han Han, what are you thinking about?" The sound pulled his mind back to reality, and he snapped out of it. A little embarrassed, he glanced away and said softly, "Nothing. I was just thinking, Miss Bai, your medical skills are so superb. Why are you still in pain from an illness?" As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Chu-Wei crossed her arms and looked away, a pained smile no one could see forming on her face. And she spoke in a low voice. "After my sworn brother died, saving me, I fell into this psychological illness. It's incurable. I can only rely on some spiritual medicine to alleviate the pain." The simple words made one's heart clench. Who would have thought that the Grand Master of Medicine in all of Huaxia couldn't even cure herself? As she spoke, she clasped her hands behind her back and took a few steps, her back straight, her silent figure seeming detached from the world. After a moment, she looked back. Her eyes were as clear as the autumn wind. "But luckily, I've met you now." The moment he saw that smile, Duan Fei felt as if he'd been electrocuted. His heart pounded as if he had just run up a steep slope, and his cheeks flushed red. He thought to himself, what does she mean by that? Why does it sound like a confession? A grown man like me is being teased by a high school girl to the point of a red face and a racing heart. Meanwhile, the person opposite him was delighted to see that expression. She told herself inwardly, although this Tang monk's flesh can't be eaten, keeping it around for some spiritual energy is also very good. After a long moment, he coughed lightly, trying to regain his serious demeanor. Then he said, "Right, Chu-Wei, what is your condition for agreeing to treat my father?" Halfway through his sentence, the person in front of him lunged forward. Her hand, quick as lightning, grabbed his, her voice enthusiastic as if preparing for some game. "Of course it's hug me." After saying that, she placed a hand on her own cheek, her eyes sparkling like a child asking for candy. This action made his emotions erupt, his face turning red all the way to his ears. He asked in a questioning tone, as if trying to recheck the logic, "Are you 18, an adult yet?" Hearing this, her expression twisted as she asked back, "Of course I'm an adult. But what does this have to do with age?" Inwardly, she was screaming, "I've lived for 5,000 years, okay?" As for the person in front of her, he swallowed hard upon hearing that. His mind was a tangled mess as he slowly advised, "If you're already an adult, you're still a high school student. You should prioritize your studies now." Hearing this, Bai Chui's face darkened, and she frowned and snapped, "I don't need others to teach me what to do. In short, are you going to hug me or not?" Duan Fan didn't expect the person in front of him to react so strongly. He was stunned for a moment, then shyly turned his face away, his lips moving as if in compromise. "Fine, then get in the car." The car rolled down the street, streetlights casting flickering light through the window onto the steering wheel. After a while, he stopped. Chu-Wei looked around, then pointed at some suggestive advertisements dangling ahead. Her face flushed as she stammered, "Mister, what did you bring me to a place like this for?" The person beside her heard this and replied nonchalantly, "Didn't you tell me to hug you?" At this moment, an image not suitable for children appeared. That was the hug Duan Fan understood. Seeing that he had misunderstood, Bai Chui's face turned red with anger. She patted his shoulder like she was beating a drum. Han, you're only 24. Why are your thoughts so complicated? The hug I was talking about is just a simple hug." After hearing this, he really wanted to find a hole to crawl into, but the person behind him felt like teasing. "But it seems your feelings for your father are really deep. You even thought of repaying with your body." But before she could finish her sentence, he pulled her into a tight hug. His large arms held her in a real embrace, sudden and full of sincerity. Nestled in Duan Fan's arms, it was unclear if it was because he was too warm or if Bai Chui's heart was heating up, but her whole face flushed red. He exuded a very pleasant scent, making her greedily inhale it over and over. She couldn't help but exclaim, "You smell so good." She thought incessantly, worthy of being pure, spiritual energy. After living for 5,000 years, this is the first time I've encountered such a treasure. Like this. Meanwhile, the person opposite her was bewildered, thinking incessantly, "You're so charming. The roles, have they been reversed?" Suddenly, a phone call shattered the ambiguous atmosphere. He hurriedly answered the phone. "Hello." The person on the other end quickly reported, "Mr. Duan, all the medicinal herbs you bought are on the truck. May I ask if they should be delivered directly to the Duan family's old residence?" After hearing this, she quickly interjected, "Han, no, those medicinal herbs must be delivered to the Bai family in Haoqing. I'll send you the specific address later." "What? This is the medicine your father has to take. I spent 300 yuan to prepare it." With that, she stuffed the medicine into his hands, then continued leisurely. "Next, I will send Lu Zhen over to perform acupuncture and prepare a medicinal bath for your father. With both methods combined, the stomach cancer can be treated at its root." Blah blah. After hearing those words, his eyes widened in astonishment as he thought to himself, "Such a sincere arrangement? 300 million exchanged for 300 yuan worth of medicine, and this medicine is used to treat stomach cancer. If either of these two things got out, I'm afraid it would shock the entire world." At the Duan residence, a few hours later, the smell of bitter medicine filled the room. A sob was heard from inside. "Boo-hoo!" Old Master Duan grimaced and said, This medicine is too bitter. I've never drunk anything this bitter in my entire life." Seeing this scene, Duan Fan immediately texted her, "Chu-Wei, does the medicine have to be fed spoon by spoon? That medicine seems very bitter. My father is in extreme agony when he drinks it." After reading the message, Bai Chu-Wei revealed a dark smile. The corners of her lips curled up in extreme delight as she thought, "Ho ho, of course it has to be fed spoon by spoon. Otherwise, how could it be worthy of the formula I so carefully selected? Ha ha ha. I really hold a grudge." Outside, Duan Jingye excitedly looked at the person behind him, his eyes shining as if he had unlocked a new secret. His excited voice rang out, I can't believe Vivi's medicine is so effective. After drinking it, Grandpa can start to talk. Again, the young man jumped around a few steps as if to let out all his joy, then suddenly patted Duan Fan's shoulder hard, continuing to boast. That's right, fourth uncle. Did you see the look on those traditional Chinese medicine doctors' faces when they kept the dregs to study? It was so funny. Then, without waiting for a reaction, he immediately got into character, reenacting the scene like a small play, mimicking what he saw. What? Falingzi, used with Kikan. Ancient texts say that the combination of these two herbs is extremely good for nourishing the stomach. The person who prescribed this medicine is truly a genius. This medicine contains many conflicting herbs, but there are others that neutralize the toxicity, producing a miraculous effect. His voice was mockingly formal, trying to sound like the doctor's then, making the person standing nearby burst out laughing. Afterward, he turned, shrugged, and clicked his tongue. If they knew the prescription was written by a high school student, they would surely be scared to death. The person behind him heard this and just silently watched the back of the gleeful young man, a look of both amusement and resignation in his eyes. Suddenly, a shout came from a nearby room. The sound echoed down the hallway. What? Afraid that the old master might have a mishap, the grand wedding has to be stopped due to a bunch of troubles? These excuses. I can clearly see that woman by Chu is still in your heart. The sharp, indignant voice echoed, making the atmosphere heavy. The two in the hallway heard the questioning words. Duan Jingye, who had been smiling, now fell silent, his face changing slightly. Then he glanced at the person beside him, both flustered and worried. Fourth uncle, just now third uncle said that grandpa's condition isn't good, so he wants to postpone the wedding. That's why this Annie Tong is arguing back and forth. Duan Fan said nothing, but his eyes grew a few shades colder. He carefully adjusted his tie. The movement was not fast, but it was forceful. Then, without hesitation, he pushed open the door and walked in. Seeing Duan Fan's action, Jingye, standing behind, almost had his jaw drop. He thought in alarm. What's the situation? Fourth uncle is actually taking the initiative to see third uncle. Don't they always avoid seeing each other? In the room, an elderly woman was hugging a crying Tong Yunru while scolding the man opposite them. Shiochi, Yunru has waited painfully for you for 20 years. You have to be considerate of her. But Duan Shiochi just casually rubbed the back of his neck, looking extremely indifferent. If her father hadn't used his death to force me, there wouldn't even be this wedding. His words made the sobbing Tong Yunru even more heartbroken. Her shoulders trembled, her hands clenched the hem of her clothes, tears falling onto her palms. Suddenly, another voice spoke up. Third brother and sister-in-law can proceed with the wedding. That voice clearly belonged to Duan Fan. Hearing these words, Tong Yunru's face lit up with joy, a faint glimmer of hope in her eyes. And Duan Fan walked in from outside. His eyes were bright, his face showing unconcealed pride. After taking the medicine, Dad's illness has already improved quite a bit. There's no need to postpone anything. His words were like adding fuel to the fire. The person opposite him scowled. He seethed inwardly. Duan Fan, it's you again. If you hadn't interfered back then, Chu and I would have been married long ago. I will never forgive you for my entire life. A flash of venomous hatred crossed his eyes that no one noticed. On the other side, Tong Yunru buried her face in the elderly woman's embrace, sobbing as she thought to herself. As expected, I had to force this wedding. I'm not in Shiochi's heart at all. He doesn't want to marry me at all. But so what? As long as I act before Bai Chu, hold the wedding before that bitch returns, Shiochi will belong only to me. Night gradually fell, the faint moonlight filtering through the leaves, shining on the villa's courtyard outside the main building. Other people were busy moving medicinal herbs, crate after crate, bag after bag, being moved to the storage room. They were dotted with sweat, but everyone was as careful as if they were moving treasure. Suddenly, someone spoke up to report. Miss Chu Wei, all the items you ordered have been brought to the storage room. Hearing this, Bai Chu Wei came out, her voice gentle. Thank you. It's been really hard on everyone. Her eyes glanced over each person, her hand giving a slight nod to show her satisfaction. Suddenly, a maid appeared from behind. Her face showed clear dislike as she asked, Miss Chu Wei, what are you still doing so late at night? Turning her head to look at the person behind her, she saw it was Annie Chun. She had her arms crossed, her eyes showing contempt, and she continued to say sarcastically with a frown, the Bai family is a prestigious family. Don't think that just because the old master likes the clean vegetables you grow, you can bring all these cheap things into the house. Hearing this, the person opposite her just replied calmly, "A maid should do a maid's job. The master's business is not for you to comment on, unless." Annie-chan thinks she is also a master of the house. Her words were light, but they sent a chill down the listener's spine. Annie-chan's face turned pale with fear. Realizing she had been too obvious, she quickly bowed her head to apologize. "I wouldn't dare," I spoke out of turn. But inwardly, she couldn't help but shudder and think, "What's going on? This child has only been here for a few days, but it's as if she already understands me completely." Facing the young girl's gloomy face, she felt as if she was being seen right through. Bai Chu-wei gave a cold smile, her eyes carrying a hint of mockery. "All right, there's nothing else for you here. You may leave." Her voice was clearly not loud, but it made others not dare to disobey. But her secrets were easily discovered by her. Truly a person who is not a challenge at all. If I remember correctly, this Annie-chan is the mistress that my good-for-nothing adoptive father, Bai Huang, is keeping in the house. The system told me to take revenge on those who bullied the original owner, and that includes the pair of adoptive parents. Thinking of this, Bai Chu-wei secretly plotted. Adoptive father Bai Huang is promiscuous and cowardly. Adoptive mother Lu Man has a strong personality and is openly jealous. If Lu Man finds out her husband is fooling around with a maid behind her back, this drama will be interesting. As she thought, she watched the figure that was frantically running away. A gleeful smile bloomed in her heart. This Annie-chan is truly a good pawn. Snowball, at her side, saw Bai Chu-wei's sinister smile and couldn't help but tremble. Its voice warped. "Ancestor, please don't smile like that. I'm scared." Only then did she regain her usual calm demeanor. She slowly took out her hair tie and put her hair up again. "Cut the nonsense. Have you sent the letter to the Tong family today?" Hearing the question, it quickly reported. "Sent, of course it was sent," you once said. "One step a day to turn debt into desire." As it spoke, it twisted and flew in circles like a fan dancer. Back to 2 hours ago, at the Tong residence, an elderly man stood beside Tong Yunru, his eyes full of worry. He hesitated and asked, "Miss Yunru, is it worth it to put so much effort in for Mr. Duan?" She, on the contrary, angrily and impatiently snapped, "Of course it's worth it. Uncle Lee, don't ask such stupid questions again. Otherwise, even if you are my mother's longest-serving driver, I won't let you off." At the same time, a small figure ran out, startling her. She frowned and asked, "Qingyan, what are you doing up here?" Tong Qingyan, while opening the door, stammered fearfully. Auntie then held out a bill and continued. "That Bai Chu sent another debt collection letter." Hearing this, the person opposite her shouted in anger. "What did you say?" It was clearly just grandma sponsoring a poor student, yet she's fighting with me over a man and extorting our Tong family. Who on earth gave her that courage? As she spoke, she crumpled the bill that had just been delivered. At the same time, Uncle Lee behind her boldly spoke up. "Bai Chu, Miss Yunru, Miss Qingyan, are you talking about the 30 million that the old madam needs to transfer to Bai Chu every year? Why do I remember the old madam said that transferring money to Miss Bai Chu was not for support, but to thank her?" But Tong Yunru turned and snapped. "My mother is a strong woman who built her career from the ground up. Why would she need to thank a girl like her?" "Uncle Lee, you're old and confused, aren't you? Don't bother coming to work from tomorrow." With that, she stepped inside and slammed the door shut. From inside, Tong Yunru's voice could still be heard giving instructions. "Qingyan, go ask the person who delivered the letter if they can find any clues about Bai Chu. I will definitely find an opportunity to teach her a lesson." Outside, Uncle Lee raised his hand as if to call out, but could not. He helplessly lowered his hand and thought to himself,